Hello, welcome back viewers. Do apologise. We are just working through some more of our little technical gremlins. Good news is you haven't missed anything as yet. Race hasn't started. We've just finished the warm-up session, so we are hopping into the race as we speak. So we'll have a little bit of time to run through the grid and we can find out what positions people qualified in. So very much looking forward to that. As said, there's a lot of... You should see the amount of screens and stuff we've got set up. It's incredible that everything goes as perfectly as it does at all times. So I think we're overdue for some technical issues, and we're getting them all tonight. So as said, you'll have to bear with us, guys, but we are getting there. So as we said, Dayne Warren has taken up pole position yet again here at the Sydney Motorsport Park, so that is not an unfamiliar location for him to be starting the race from. And his brother Ethan alongside him, also definitely not anywhere near a slow driver, but seems to be a little bit overshadowed by his brother occasionally. Here we go.
We can see the new liveries there of the two Warren brothers, so the Altus colours are long gone, Madbird.
Yeah, actually quite Port Adelaide reminiscent livery on Dayne Warren's car there, which I'm a big fan of. Khan Lepere, Premiership 2020, no asterisk please. We got the blank black Mustang alongside, looking not quite as resplendent, of Ethan Warren. And behind them we have got Luke Rosella starting from third place for AAR Mustang Racing in that gorgeous Tamiya car. I think that is one of both of our favourites. And behind him we have got Peter Fillier.
What?
In the Peter Fillier?
Ah, very good.
That is Fillier.
Yeah, it sure is.
Egglestone Motorsport ZB Commodore. And then we have the first of the very recognisable Race on Oz cars of Sean Allen, starting from 5th place, so expect him to climb up through the grid. Kurt Stenberg actually down in 6th place, so not a very good qualifying session for Trans-Tasman Racing.
There is the new Trans-Tasman livery there, you can see, with a bit more black on the rear bumper.
Yeah, not too much of a change, but still distinct from the previous one. Brody Steen, the second Race on Oz car, in 7th place. Behind him we have Colin Warwick in a blank Warwick Racing ZB Commodore, so switched out from Stealth Penrite.
That's right.
Benjamin D'Alia for D'Alia Racing in 9th place.
He's one of the Super 2 call-ups.
Oh, nice. So he is one of the wildcard entries. So behind him, we've got the 2 ZB Racing cars. Zach Baker followed by David Nadadich. RSM Latino in 12th. Behind him, we've got Alex Cattle as the Race on Oz satellite team. Behind him, Thomas McMillan, starting from the rear of the grid in the Pleb Sim Sport.
Assume that he didn't get a lap in, because that's not normally where we see Thomas McMillan. Former race winner in 2020 is Thomas McMillan.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been doing quite well. It feels
flashing
weird.
the lights. I think he's watching the broadcast. So
it feels weird.
Good to know where it can be heard.
It feels weird discussing the season as if it's it feels like this is the first race of the season. It's been such a long break,
especially with these new liveries that we're looking at. So Dayne Warren there has actually put a little bit of effort into his privateer livery. Ethan Warren, not so much, it has to be said.
A little bit blank. Possibly not the most interesting livery in the world, but I'm sure that will be fixed come next season, the next race. Dayne Warren has well and truly overshot his starting slot by the looks of it. And he seems to be having some trouble finding reverse. No.
That's forwards.
That's forwards.
Actually, I wonder if the grid spot is past the line.
Oh.
No, it can't possibly be that far.
The runners behind are all more or less in line, but he seems to be... Oh, he's getting ever close. He's figured it out, ladies and gentlemen.
I think we're about to get racing again. So 3 races tonight. Did we detail that? We haven't really had a chance to.
We'll get to it.
But we're racing, and it's Dayne Warren versus Ethan Warren off the front of the grid. Who's going to get the whole shot? We've got the Trans-Tasman Racing car of Kurt Stenberg in third, slotting up the inside, and they're absolutely side by side on the run down to turn 2. Who's going to have it? Dayne Warren has the better line. Ethan Warren's in fact coming under pressure from a fast charging Kurt Stenberg, and look at that.
Yeah, Kurt Stenberg starting from 6th has shot his way up into 3rd, although he's just losing out 3rd place to that car that is currently in 3rd. Do apologise, I can't remember who that
New
is.
liveries.
That's, I want to say it was Peter Fillier, but then you mocked me for it.
It was of Egglestone Motorsport. I believe actually that is I believe that's Brody Kostecki. I haven't got confirmation on that, but I was told that he was racing and he would be racing for Egglestone Motorsport, and I believe...
Under the name Peter Fillier.
There you go. You can actually see on the side of the car, on the rear window there, it does say Kostecki, so that confirms my suspicions that Peter Fillier is Brody Kostecki.
Well, that makes perfect sense as to why he is up into 2nd place, being a real-life supercars driver. So he is doing a very good job there of jumping up a couple of positions off the start as he chases after the fast-starting Dayne Warren. But does Dayne Warren have another variety of starting?
Yes, Ethan Warren didn't have the best start, then losing the spot. So as it stands, we've got the top 5 as Dayne Warren, Brody Kostecki racing as 1P Fillier, Ethan Warren in 3rd, Kurt Stenberg in 4th, and Sean Allen in 5th place. He's a driver who had quite a rich vein of form just before the beginning of the break.
Yeah, I would hope that he's managed to maintain some of that momentum. It would be probably a bit of a punch in the gut because he had a, as you say, rich vein of form. He was really charging towards the podium positions as Kurt Stenberg made a position through the 2nd corner up on Ethan Warren. Although Ethan Warren now fighting back through turns 3 and now down into 4. He's got the inside line. Kurt Stenberg trying to drive around the outside. Looks like he might have the inside line into 5th. Onto the 5th corner. This is and contact with Ethan Warren.
Oh my goodness, that's not gone very well at all for the championship champion defending, I should say. And Ethan Warren probably with a little bit of blood on his hands there.
Yeah, that was a little bit messy. It's let Sean Allen slip through and up into 3rd place, and Kurt Stenberg's co-admin Colin Warwick has slipped up into that 4th place position. Now Ethan Warren getting mugged by Brody Steen in that race on Oz Mustang around the outside of turn 8. And they're nice now side by side heading down to that sharp right-left that heads into the final complex of corners. Brody Steen shoving his nose up the inside of turn 10. And it looks like he's got the job done as they come through the last corner.
So that is quite a hectic start that we've had to this race. Kurt Stenberg all over the back of fellow admin Colin Warwick. His father, Steve Warwick, actually victorious in last night's Super 2 races, or both of them. But Colin Warwick is quickly relieved of his 4th place finish, and he's going to look behind to Brody Steen, who himself has Ethan Warren diving down the inside, and it's an absolute dive fest down at turn 2. Look at that train, and poor old Brody Steen, he's got himself completely out of sequence there as Ethan Warren looks to take 2 cars in 2 corners.
Yeah, he's all over the inside of Colin Warwick heading into turn 4, and he's got that job well and truly done. He finished that job before he even signed his timesheets, and he's up into 5th place again. Can set off after Kurt Stenberg. Hopefully make an overtake a little bit cleaner this time.
Good job from Ethan Warren. Hashtag essential workers. Moving swiftly on from that horrible pun. Brody Steen now in 7th place. They've settled into a bit of a single file line now after the side-by-side action there. As I said, that Luke Rosella locks it up and loses that position to he doesn't actually lose it in the end, to Zach Baker. Zach Baker must have somehow made a mistake on the exit, or just gone a little bit too slow or too fast into the corner and hurt his apex speed. So the Zach Baker cars absolutely hammer and tong between them, and look at young Benjamin Dahlia behind with a watching brief, the Super 2 call up, and also Formula Ford Victorian champion.
Fantastic. Luke Rosella of the famed massive forehead is struggling a bit. He started off on the 2nd row of the grid in 3rd place. He is now down to 8th, so he's lost 5 positions off the start, and he's been spun.
Oh no!
He's been spun, and that was Zach Baker in the ZB Racing Mustang, who just gave him a little bit of a tap going through turn 2, so I imagine that will be looked at. That's very unfortunate for Luke Rosella. We've got a replay here, so just overcooks it a little bit coming out of the corner, I reckon, and just straight into the back of him. He might have had a bit of an assistance from his teammate as well, David Nedidich. who maybe sort of shoved him into Luke Rosella slightly, but...
Good avoiding action from everyone there behind, but unfortunately it means Luke Rosella is now running last on track.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, good work for everyone else avoiding it, but no good news for Luke Rosella, who's now down in 14th place and 6 seconds off the back of the pack. Dayne Warren with a 1.4 second lead over Brody Kostecki.
Yeah, Brody Kostecki, who is on your screen as 1P Filia. And P Filia, 1.4 seconds, the difference between first and second as it stands. Dayne Warren has the fastest lap of a 1:27.7, which is the fastest race lap at Sydney Motorsport Park for an official Automobilista Supercars Championship race.
Yeah,
and the reason that is because this is the only one that's been so far.
Absolutely. I was about to say Dayne Warren smashing records as per usual, but he's actually creating records this time around, so
yeah,
very well done to him.
It's his brother who holds most of them at this stage.
Yeah, Ethan Warren was the was the main runner last season that we saw from the Warren brothers.
Speaking of Ethan Warren, here he is all over the back of championship defending Kurt Stenberg. Sorry, that is that Kurt Stenberg? I'm just trying to see it.
Yeah, that is Kurt Stenberg. We haven't got any other Trans-Tasman Racing runners in the race.
We were hoping to have Jake Moloney back, but it doesn't look like he has emerged.
Materialised.
So, apologies for the little bit of artifacting on your screen. That is happening on our screen as well, just to give you the sense that this is like a mid-noughties broadcast and your connection isn't quite that good if you still had a terrestrial analog TV as opposed to a digital connection.
Do not adjust your tracking. The images on your screen are as they appear. And were we at Monte Carlo and going through the tunnel, I imagine that the broadcast would completely shut off, which luckily they've managed to fix.
So this is looking to me like the closest battle on the racetrack right now, although we do have a good battle going on behind them. A 3-car battle with Zach Baker and Brody Steen just behind Colin Warwick. They're leading that trio of cars.
Yeah, tight little tussle there for what will become 6th position. And as you say, that battle between Ethan Warren and Kurt Stenberg getting closer and closer. Brody Steen having a look at Colin Warwick through the second turn, but nothing doing.
Here we go. This
Ethan Warren.
Ethan Warren having a look down the inside of Kurt Stenberg there, and very much good a passing opportunity that, but it doesn't go off there for him.
No, it looks like he's going to have a go down the inside into turn 6. Got it done, although Kurt Stenberg keeping it around the outside, maybe a little bit of a bump there, ran him out of track, but definitely much cleaner than Ethan Warren's previous attempts to overtake Kurt Stenberg. And it looks like that position is now spoken for. So Ethan Warren up into 4th place, although Kurt Stenberg coming through this turn 8 hairpin is all over the back of him, and doesn't look like he's going to have a go into turns 9 and 10 and 11. Sort of all molds into one weird corner complex.
Yeah, lots of braking and turning there. It's quite easy to make a mistake, lock a brake, go wide, and it's so important to have a good run out of that final corner. And Ethan Warren did have a good run out of that final corner. On this occasion, he's gapping Kurt Stenberg all the way down this straight and is very much clear from danger as they enter turn 1. It's not really an overtaking opportunity, turn 1, unless you're basically alongside. Turn 2 is the one where you can make the difference.
And we cut back to this 3-way battle between Brody Steen, Colin Warwick and Zach Baker. Sorry, I was just figuring out which one of those ZB cars it was. And it looks like it's calmed down a little bit. There's a couple of car lengths now between Brody Steen and Colin Warwick ahead and Zach Baker behind. So it's a tricky track to defend on because there's so many pretty hard braking zones with sharp corners. So plenty of opportunities for people to dive up the inside and either have their nose chopped off or get a position. Turn 8 down here where Brody Steen and Colin Warwick just coming up to a prime example, although there's no diving on this particular occasion.
Now what's this? Got another battle here happening between Benjamin Dahlia and RSM Latino in 11th place. RSM Latino currently leading the Super 2 Championship. So this is the battle of the wild cards.
Yeah, over what will be 10th place.
Although it seems to be stretching
We've joined it just as Benjamin D'Alia seems to be making a bit of ground. Although goes very wide at the last corner. As you say, getting a good run through
completely
that
off the track. That looks like a technical issue.
Yeah, it just did not seem to turn the car.
Ooh,
and that front right tyre is not moving very much at all.
Completely locked up. So he dives into the pits, which is a good chance to bring up our... oh, no, that's got damage. That's trailing smoke.
Oh, will he get it slowed down in time?
It's a slow pit lane, 40 kilometres an hour. So that is an unscheduled stop, although we are at the half distance mark for this race. And it's a good opportunity to talk about pit stops, as we've got a few other cars currently in the pit lane, including Kurt Stenberg and Colin Warwick. Alex Cattle, I believe... Benjamin Daly is the other one. So it's only 3 cars so far to make their pit stops, and those guys diving in at pretty much exactly the halfway mark in this race.
Yeah, exactly. So we saw that prior to the mid-season break, that there was a bit of a tendency for everyone to dive in either before the midway point or... Whoa! And we just had some footage there of, I reckon that's Dayne Warren.
That is Dayne Warren.
Whoa!
Oh, what's going on?
And Brody Kostecki behind, straight off the track and into the fence.
Someone put some virtual oil down. This is very strange. Oh! We got more cars in the track.
Ethan Warren, what is happening?
What on earth is going on? All right, let's catch a replay. Let's see exactly what on earth happened to... Now, that's the corner we were talking about where it's easy to make a mistake. I said that a lap ago. And on the other screen, we've actually got Ethan Warren coming into the pits, missing his front bar. So that is an interesting situation indeed. Brody Steen now leads the race, as I try and get some pictures of the cars who are in the pits for you.
Yeah, and we've had 2 DNFs that we haven't noticed. We've got Luke Rosella and Thomas McMillan both out of the race. One of those less surprising than the other.
Yes. Yeah, so there's the 2 Warren brothers. We've got Sean Allen in the foreground just coming in for his stop. We've got a Zach Baker car in the back shot having an accident coming into the pit lane.
What is happening? And we've had... no, I reckon that was...
Dayne Warren's retired.
No, I think that was Brody Kostecki that has retired. Yes, it was. On our live timing, we're seeing P. Philia DNF.
Beg your pardon, Dayne Warren fans. He is still showing on our other screen on the...
Oh, what is happening? Brody Steen getting all over the place coming through. I think that was turn 6.
But
what is happening?
What is happening? It's like a drift competition.
I am very confused at this moment, Stairs.
Everyone seems to have forgotten how to drive. I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. Dayne Warren hasn't forgotten how to drive. There he is. Ethan Warren has a drive-through penalty. We have 3 cars, in the garage after having retired. So Luke Rosella and Thomas McMillan, we didn't even see that happen. Zach Baker's got himself a drive-through penalty.
What the hell?
I was about to talk about how this race isn't fuel limited, but it seems like not really an important point to talk about.
It's starting to seem as if it must be incredibly tyre limited, based off people. I'm not sure if we've just had. I just saw Brody Steen just then in the background of that shot with Dayne Warren flying off at the last corner. So I'm not sure what's going on. There he is. He's struck out in the paddock.
Let's catch a replay, see what happened. Well, we saw him doing drift cross before.
So the tyres just falling off that quickly? Because he's just slid straight off the track. What is happening?
I'm trying to see. It doesn't actually say what the tyre wear percentage is at, unless they put it up accidentally to 10 times instead of 2 times what they normally do.
That's the only thing I can think of, to have so many cars all at once fall off the track.
But Dayne Warren, you look at him, he's on rails.
Yeah, but has he pit? Has Dayne Warren pit? Because Brody Steen was in the lead of the race.
Yeah.
And he's now down into 4th place. And it looks as if the positions have shaken out somewhat. Like, we've got Sean Allen in 2nd place behind Dayne Warren and Colin Warwick in 3rd. So those are sort of the positions I would expect to see there. Where's Kurt Stenberg? He's down in 6th.
We've got more cars in the pit lane. That looks like Ethan Warren taking his drive-through penalty in the back of that shot. RSM Latino, and then one of the other Zach Baker cars, which looks to me from the timing screen as though it is... I was stalling for time and I haven't managed to find It is Zach Baker, beg your pardon. So he's now running last. Brody Steen on your screen is running in 8th place. And Dayne Warren sublimely out front now has a 4-second lead from Sean Allen. So Sean Allen is one of those drivers who just quietly achieves, isn't he? Yeah,
this is what he has made his, I want to say career, this is what he's made his Automobilista Supercars Championship career on, at least, is just, he just seems to stay out of trouble, be consistently, not blisteringly quick, but definitely towards the front. And he just nails out solid lap times, lap after lap, and seems to keep his nose out of trouble. Unlike many of his compatriots. We've got a little battle here.
Yeah, speaking of trouble, here's some of it brewing.
For Kurt Stenberg, and who would that be? That is David Nedidich.
Yep.
Oh, a little bit of a block move there from David Nedidich, which Kurt Stenberg might not appreciate too much. He's got the inside going into turn 1, which actually here can be a bit of a disadvantage. David Nedidich beautifully slicing up the inside as they go through that corner, and he's going to have the inside line into the hairpin at turn 2. Kurt Stenberg goes forced wide.
Yeah, gives him the space. That was nice. I thought that David Nedidich might have locked the fronts and slid right into the side of Kurt Stenberg.
That was gorgeous.
But it didn't happen. It was gorgeous. And Benjamin Dahlia, with a little bit of disappointment in the background, was probably hoping they would both collect each other. But they were both a bit more equal to the task than he was expecting there.
Yeah, as I was saying, the inside line into turn 1 is sort of a mixed blessing because it gives you the lead into the corner, but it's such a fast momentum corner that sometimes it's better to take the outside and just swoop around.
Well, here we go, side by side again, as Kurt Stenberg tries to go around the outside of David Nedidich, and if he can just hold it there, he might get himself up the inside the next part, but it doesn't quite pan out that way for poor old Kurt Stenberg.
Excellent defensive driving from David Nedidich.
Oh, that's very, very close into the final sequence of corners there. David Nedidich making his Ford Mustang an incredibly wide beast as the defending champion occupies his mirrors, and Kurt Stenberg drawing up alongside him. He'll have the inside for turn 1 and will try and set up a daring move into turn 2, but he does it very, very well indeed. So we've been told that tyre wear is set to ×3, but that's not hugely more than we normally have.
I wouldn't expect the tyres to just explode at lap 9.
Oh, side by side, door to door action there. They both go a little bit wide at turn 2. Sorry to cut across you there, Madbird.
No, that's fine. That's well and truly, please interrupt me. As we've got the battle continuing on, Kurt Stenberg has taken the position, but David Nedidich is not letting go. He is right on the back of him as they come into turn 5, or Brox 05, as I'm told the corner is named, coming down into corner 6, and it looks as if Kurt Stenberg has got the better of this battle. David Nedidich is slowly falling off the back. Benjamin Dahlia, though, is sort of buying into this. He's thinking he could possibly get that position from David Nedidich, and he's had a perfect view of how to get the job done with Kurt Stenberg just ahead.
So what else have we got happening on the racetrack? A 4-second lead to Dayne Warren as it stands. So he's doing a pretty good job. Despite what we saw, he did have a little bit of a mistake when we had everyone off in the fence at the halfway point, but he came through that and has been pretty flawless since then, I would say. Sean Allen in tow. Took about 2 or 3 tenths of a second out of him on the previous lap, though, by the looks of it. And Colin Warwick looks set for podiums in his return to the...
That'll be one of his first podiums this season, wouldn't it?
I don't believe he's been on. It was actually one of his goals, was to get on the podium a bit more often this year than he did last year. So the mid-year break seems to have served him well. Yeah. And his father as well, getting the win in the Super 2 race. So the Warwick clan is very much on the up and up.
Yeah.
Kurt Stenberg in 4th place. We've seen that battle. In fact, now the battle is between Benjamin Dahlia, who seems to have got past
David
Nedidich there. So that's happened unseen to us. Apologies to Benjamin Dahlia for missing that one. But it's certainly not over yet, is it?
No, David Nedidich right on the back of him coming through turn 5. Going into turn 6 was quite a tight right hand. No, sorry, that's turn 7. Coming into turn 8 now. David Nedidich trying to dump down the inside. Spooked Benjamin Dahlia a bit. who locked up his tyres a bit, and now David Nedich has managed to scoop up the inside, but looks like he's fallen out of it. And Benjamin D'Alia leads as they come into turns 9 and 10.
So 5th place would be a very, very strong finish for the wildcard. He's on the up and up. He's won races in Super 2, but a 5th place finish in the main game against some of these guys who are podium finishers. In fact, the Zach Baker, a duo of Zach Baker and David Nedich were leading the Bathurst 1000 last year and were one of the fastest cars at different stages throughout the day. So here he goes, though, down the inside. Is he going to be able to outbrake? Oh, I think he's got into his mind. Benjamin D'Alia saw him coming and just basically bowled a wide. Gave David Nedich the free pass there. It was a little bit too easy for poor old David, or for fortunate old David, I should say.
Yeah, it's a strategy that our friend Goofball Antics likes to employ, which is even if you don't think you're going to have a run into a braking zone, you just poke your nose out and make them see you in their side mirrors, and they maybe freak out a little bit, jump on the brakes a little bit earlier than they usually would, or later than they usually would, and get inside their head, put the moz on them.
It worked for him last week. Anyone of our fans saw the Apex rear wing race from Brands Hatch, in which Goofball or Heath got past Greg Turra of Automobilist Australia fame at the death on the final corner. So that was a ripping finish, and so too was race 2. So check that out on the Apex Rear Wing YouTube channel if you get the opportunity. Let's finish off this dock take before the race comes to a close. Benjamin D'Alia seems to be dropping off the back of David Nedich now. Brody Steen is in a fairly lonely old 7th place at the moment, 25 seconds behind Benjamin D'Alia. And Ethan Warren, in fact, I don't know, he might be able to close those 6 seconds, but there's not long
tall ask
left in this race. He's had a drive-through penalty earlier on in the race for speeding in the pit lane. RSM Latino's up 3 spots from where he started, benefiting from a little bit of attrition without Alex Cattle, DNF from this race as well, unseen to the broadcast. Zach Baker runs in 10th place, and he's the last man running as it stands.
Yeah, so unfortunate for Zach Baker, as I probably have mentioned too many times, their first season, or the inaugural season, they were probably up there more often than not. So this season has been probably a little bit of a disappointment for them. As I said, they're probably not too happy about me constantly saying it, but until it stops being true, I'm going to have to keep saying it. So
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
We're watching Sean Allen in his quest to chase down RSM Latino.
That's lapped car.
Oh, do apologise.
So Sean Allen runs second, and RSM Latino there.
Otherwise, that's the easiest overtake for the lead in history.
Obligingly gets out of the way and lets Sean Allen take turn 2 ahead of him. Dayne Warren now is on the final lap of the race, and it's been a very seamless return to racing for Dayne Warren. New colours and nothing. Pretty much the only thing that's changed about the way that he's been driving.
Yeah, a little bit. Had to fight with his brother a little bit at the very start of the race, but once he dispatched Ethan, it's pretty much been clear sailing. Apart from when his tyres also exploded around lap 9, and they seem to maybe be starting to go off again once again, but should hopefully last him the remaining 3 laps of this 3 corners, of this race.
Yeah, no chance for a fastest lap with tyre wear set to ×3. His last lap was a 28.7, which is a full second slower than the fastest lap that he set for this race. He got the fastest lap, which was a 27.7.
Oh, he's hanging it out there.
He is out of the final corner. It's going to make it an action-packed finish. Dayne Warren takes victory in our return to racing at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Absolutely, very well done to Dayne Warren. Behind him, we have got Sean Allen with a very good return for Race on Oz Racing, and a distant third will be Colin Warwick. Not that distant, actually. He's just coming around the last corner.
He'll be happy with that. That's a good result there for Colin Warwick.
Absolutely. Pants off, foot's down.
Pants off, it's race week, he said to me in the chat earlier in the week. And Kurt Stenberg is going to collect some good points in 4th place. He's still about 10 seconds behind the podium sitters, and here he comes now to claim those points. And the new colours for Trans-Tasman, not that different. but slightly updated livery there as David Nedadic comes home behind him in 5th. Benjamin Dahlia will be the 6th place finisher ahead of Brody Steen, and then we've got Ethan Warren in 8th place. So we've got Luke Rosella in the chat saying, nice start with no clutch pedal.
That would have hurt.
That would have
that would explain the drop from 3rd to 8th, I expect. So unfortunate for him. Also unfortunate for Ethan Warren losing his front bumper at the point where his tyres exploded. He comes home in 8th place. And RSM Latino and Zach Baker are going to be our last 2 remaining points getters.
Yeah, so a lot of points on, well, a lot of the points that were on the table went begging. We only had the 14 starters, so slightly disappointing there, and an attritional race means that 10th place and last still gets a big chunk of points for their championship campaign.
Absolutely. Now, we started to talk about this as the race was starting. 3 races tonight, Stairs.
Yeah, so we have 3 races. It's 300 points for a round, so normally with 150 points for a win that we have had in the previous rounds of this championship, we've got 100 points for each race as opposed to 150 points. So if you think of it as 300 points for the night for a maximum tally that you can get, it's still the case in that regard. It's just divided in slightly different ways. So with 2 races, it's 150 points for a win. When we have 1 race, like a big Bathurst Enduro race, you get 300 points for the win. Or if we're having 3 races like we do tonight, then you get 100 points for the win. So the number of points available on the night will be the same, but the division between the races is where it's different. I've laboured that point, I think.
No, you've beautifully explained it, I think. Qualifying. Are we doing 3 qualifying sessions for the 3 races?
That's right. We had a short 5-minute qualifying session for the first race, which Dayne Warren claimed pole ahead of his first win of the night, and then we're going to have 2 10-minute sessions, one before the next race and one before the final race of the night.
And all equal distance, 16 laps.
That's right. So there's
nice and simple.
There's no compulsion to pit for fuel, but you do have to make a tyre stop, and we saw saw that a bunch of people had punctures in the middle of that race, and they weren't expecting that. I think that's basically the only explanation I can come up with there, is that everyone had that happen at pretty much exactly the same point in the race. That's where we saw so many people in the fence, but it was pretty much the halfway mark, so they couldn't have gone much longer. Well, they couldn't actually afford to go much shorter than that, because then they'd have the same problem at the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've basically got to cut the race directly in half, or risk a horrible accident.
So there's not a lot of scope for strategy in that regard. It's basically you're going to have a massively busy pit lane at the halfway mark of the race.
Yep, probably from damage and pit stops both, considering how we saw the first race happening at the midway point. So
we just got a bit of an opportunity now to reset ahead of race 2. We've got our bearings now. So that was getting our eye in. Certainly Dayne Warren didn't need too much convincing to get his eye in.
Absolutely not. And I mean, we usually only do 2 races in one of these broadcasts, so you know, we weren't prepared to do 3. So the first one's a cider.
It was a cider.
For the second and third races, you can expect the same quality, beautiful Apex rear wing production that you always get.
So Luke Rosella again saying, cheers Fanatec for not giving me a clutch pedal. So not sure what the full story there is, but I'm wondering whether
the feeling he's not happy.
Something was ordered and didn't arrive maybe in time. I noticed that couriers have been flat out in this period, and with all the COVID restrictions, it's causing a lot of delays to packages worldwide.
Yeah. I've been having incredible success getting all my books on time, much to the chagrin of my girlfriend working at home, who has to answer the door almost daily for orders from Booktopia, but you know, that's what girlfriends are for,
among other things. Here is the racetrack well, we didn't get a chance to have a good look at it before the start of race 1, and we saw quite a few good overtakes into turn 2. That's that fast turn 1 that's been destroying those right hand side tyres. Then there's the hairpin at 2. Turn 4 is another good overtaking opportunity there, Madbird. And no qualifying record at the beginning of the night. We've got one already from Dayne Warren's qualifying effort in the first race. But of course, The 2019 records don't exist because this race wasn't a championship race last time we raced here.
You said that turns 2 and 4 were good overtaking opportunities. I would argue that pretty much every corner, with the possible exceptions of like 9 and 10 and 7, are probably good overtaking opportunities around this track. It seems to be the sort of track that it's very easy to have a bunch of back and forth battles going on, and lots of opportunities to get overtaken, but then cut up the inside for the next corner and get your position back. So we're just hopping into the qualifying session for the second race of tonight. 10 minutes on the clock.
And we're going into the night time now.
Very exciting. Hope you're not wearing sunglasses because that'll make it quite difficult to see. Especially with there being no sun.
I wear my sunglasses at night, as the old song goes.
Absolutely. I was trying to think of the following lyrics, and my memory completely failed me. Yes, as did my recollection of the word failed. Although it seems pretty bright to me, as we're watching Thomas McMillan hopping out into the pit lane. So perhaps just the racers are.
Yes, I think I might have made
evening.
liars of me.
Liars, multiple.
Yes, and you.
Excellent.
Didn't get the full opportunity. This sounds like an excuse central, but didn't get the full opportunity to get the rundown on what the deal was for tonight. Been very busy with freelance work.
No, what, Stairs? That sounds like an excuse, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like racing drivers. Racing drivers are known for their excuses. So
absolutely.
Would love to know what all the excuses were of all the drivers midway through that race. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to chat to them tonight because we can't hear anything.
Yeah,
so we're kind of relying on you guys as audience to let us know if everything sounds all right. But unfortunately, tonight we won't get our normal interviews in, Madbird.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll have to do some bonus extra interviews next round, perhaps.
That's right.
Maybe have a chat to Colin Warwick, see how often he's wearing pants these days. And see if we can get Lewis Kugeley on. Find out about my bloody $10.
Well, next round, that will be a very special topic because it'll be the anniversary, being the Winton round, of your bet with Lewis Kugeley.
Absolutely, a bet that has gone horrendously unhonoured as the year has worn on. And I'm getting more and more resigned to the fact that I'm probably never going to see that $10. I should start putting inflation on it.
Yeah,
and,
well, let's not blow our wad too early, but because we do have some information about that coming up, and I think you'll be very surprised indeed.
I'm very excited.
You're not going to be surprised now that I've just blown your wad.
Well,
I've
been for those who enjoy Stairs' features, I highly recommend you hop over to the Apex Rear Wing channel and check out the features that he's been doing round by round for the Apex Rear Wing season, which include such absolute belters as the Brands Hatch corner, or Brands Hatch not having any interestingly named corners, and Snetterton having a corner named after had the Scary Tree.
The Scary Tree, yes.
And of course Knickerbrook at the famous Alton Park. So
that's one of my favourite stories of how a corner got its name, the Knickerbrook corner. So if you want to find out, check out the Alton Park round of the BTCC Championship at Apex Rear Wing, the Season 9 series of races. I think that was round number 3, if memory.
Round 2.
Round 2, beg your pardon.
Round 1 being at Silverstone. And we are back there again tomorrow night.
Yes, you and Matt Dunlop will be running the broadcast, so that should be entertaining for all.
Especially you.
Don't worry, it can't get worse than what I've done earlier today.
You have done an absolute blinder, mate. Do not even worry about it.
Well, shout out to Lee Jackson saying everything sounds good, so appreciate you being our ears and not so much our eyes.
Absolutely. It's sometimes you can't tell if, sometimes from our end at least, you can't really tell if we're audible even over the sound of the engines, but we've had to do a bit of blind luck with some volume sliders, but it seems to be working out. So thank you very much to everyone who is joining us for the race so far tonight. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. I certainly am. It's been a while since I've been here in the box with Stairs, so very much enjoying myself, as Thomas McMillan isn't enjoying himself. He's crashed on his outlap coming out of turn 5. Yeah, no, that's not good, I think is what you were about to say there, Stairs.
Yeah. Looking at Dayne Warren now, who really is the man to look at. He's been the fastest man all throughout this championship. And in qualifying, I don't think he's beaten yet in a qualifying session,
No,
which
I reckon
is
he's
absolutely remarkable.
I reckon he's pole every single race, which is unfortunate for everyone else, but for himself, that is a one very, very rich vein of form that he continues to tap.
So, run to the line here for Dayne Warren, and we're going to see what the time to beat in this qualifying session will be. It's a 1:26.7. That is remarkable speed. His brother goes 4/10 slower. Thomas McMillan slots into third. A solid 12 seconds behind. Alex Cattle, unsurprisingly, beats that. Arasim Latino slots into third just ahead. Luke Rosella now goes into third place. So Dayne Warren, with 6 times on the board, is at the top of the tree, and that's a second faster than his fastest lap of the race, Matt Bird.
Yeah, I've got some excuses for Thomas McMillan. Surprise, surprise. So apparently he only just received his wheel today after 6 weeks of doing no racing whatsoever. The throttle wasn't even calibrated, and he forgot to do everything.
Forgot to do everything.
Dominic Ferraris.
Are you talking about in regards to sim racing or in regards to...
Well, in regards to sim racing in particular, he forgot to calibrate his wheel or anything, so...
It sounds like me in this broadcast, actually. So I think we're all actually dealing with a bit of a first day of school jitters.
Yeah,
we actually had this in Adelaide. We talked about the first day of school. This is the first day after the winter break of school. Dayne Warren there has been balked on his lap there by the looks of it.
Yeah, he caught up to Benjamin D'Alia, I think, which... I mean, not really Benjamin D'Alia's fault. He was just trying to do his own hot lap. Thomas McMillan here, hopefully going to improve upon his first effort. He's about 8.7 seconds up so far. He's very wide off the last corner, but that is a very lenient corner for track extending.
8 seconds isn't really enough when he's 12 seconds off the pace.
No, but it depends how much more time he gains on himself through this last sector, I suppose.
You make a good point.
Coming across the line, he's not going to be close. He's going to be about 3 seconds off the pace.
It's an improvement, though.
Improvement of 9.5 seconds, so very well done to Thomas McMillan. Flash the lights if you're listening, or don't, because he just span out of control and hit the wall.
I think that was on purpose. We've just cut to a very dramatic shot of Luke Rosella entering the pit lane.
So hopefully Luke Rosella's got his clutch working, or whatever.
God, everyone's off the track. What's going on? Arasim Latino's had some sort of moment.
Have they turned the tyre wear up to 7 times for to 7 times for the qualifying session or something? Because everyone seems to be falling off the track. I think he just went a little bit wide there, probably dipped a tyre on the outside. Yep.
Tried to keep his foot in it.
Easy to do.
It is.
In the Caterham season for Apex Rear Wing, I had a very hairy moment chasing down my nemesis D-Samaj through the first turn, and we both went very wide. Both kept our feet in it, and that was probably the most scared I was ever in those cars.
Strong showing from Zach Baker. Sorry, Benjamin D'Alia, I should say. At the moment, he's only 2 seconds off pole, and doesn't look like he's going to improve on this lap, however. What's Sean Allen got? I think that's the lap that I want to look at right now, because he hasn't set one yet. So, second in race 1, and I can't even remember where he qualified in race number 1, but he was...
5th. He was 5th in race 1, so...
A bit wide there.
Jake Moloney has joined us by the looks of it. I can just see his time on the board. So he's a second off Dayne Warren's pace.
There you go. Welcome back, Jake Moloney. Good to see you with us.
Another one that forgot we've got 3 races tonight. He's gone, what are we here? It's like, well, I'm here for race 1, and they're all, mate, it's race 2. You've missed the first one. And he's like, oh, crap. But I'm sure it won't upset him too much.
Sean Allen to the line here. Let's see what sort of a time he can set. It's pretty good. 4th place. He's only just behind Luke Rosella, who I have to say I'm impressed with his showing there in 3rd.
Yep, sorry, just chewing on a mint slice.
My apologies, I left a gap and realised that you were doing that. So what else can Sean Allen do? We've got Alex Cattle on an outlap at the moment. Who else is on the racetrack? We've also got David Nenadic and Alex Cattle, I just said that. In 14th place, we've got Colin Warwick looking like he's about to settle that.
Sean Allen getting the back out, coming into turn 5.
Let's see what Colin Warwick can do. He hasn't set a time in this qualifying session yet.
Looks decent.
Looked like he was on a pretty hot lap before. 7th place. Probably wouldn't be that proud of that I think. Actually, he's got some pretty strong competition up ahead of him.
Yeah, he's behind people that I would classify as bloody quick.
Yeah.
One of which is Kurt Stenberg, who's managed to set a lap time, but he is 17 hundredths of a second off of his teammate Jake Moloney. So
very wide there. I wonder if that counts as track limits.
It's pretty lenient around. If this is similar to the other versions of Eastern Creek that I've raced, I'm always surprised by how far you can go, especially at that last corner.
Yeah.
You can see the tyre tracks are basically
very
completely redefined the corner.
Late apex there for the final part of that corner. And was able to do that by going wide onto the apron on the entry. So let's see whether he can improve. No, it didn't count, so that probably was actually track extending for Kurt Stenberg.
He's discovered the line and crossed it.
Well, you have to play with these boundaries in order to know where they are.
That's correct. Colin Warwick just coming up to finish another lap. He is not improving at this stage. He's a 10th down on his own time.
Not too far away though, isn't he?
Not too far away. We've only got a minute and a quarter left in this session, so that's gone bloody quick.
Even quicker than the 5-minute session. I say in a not correct way, objectively.
Well, I imagine it felt like an eternity for you as you were pulling out.
Well, it wasn't an eternity. It felt like it went too quickly. I didn't have enough time to sort it all out. Colin Warwick there improves marginally. Got a little bit of a toe down the straight from Alex Cattle ahead of him, so I wonder if that helped him a little bit. Brody Steen is also on a lap. Inside the final minute of this session now, Brody Steen looks like is he slowing down, or is that just the camera angle?
I think it might just be the camera angle. That's quite a slow corner, turn 8.
That's true. One must slow down for a hairpin.
Although he's 8/10 off the pace at this stage, but hasn't actually set a lap time himself. No, he has. I do apologise.
He's sat in 8th. And there's quite a gaggle of cars there from 7th right down to 9th. It's not a huge gaggle, but anyway, within a 10th of a second, we've got about 3 cars, so Brody Steen can improve, but he's not going to, and he's in the pits, so that's it for his qualifying session.
Absolutely. Who have we got out there that can still set a lap time? We've got Ethan Warren, and we've got Kurt Stenberg. Oh, sorry, we don't have Ethan Warren. He's in the pits. We have only got Kurt Stenberg and Colin Warwick who are out there, along with David Nedidich, sorry, who's still out on track as well. So, 2 of our admins and David Nedidich, the only ones that will be able to set
Colin
that
Warwick's
time.
not going to be improving, Madbird. He's backed off or had a mistake on this lap, about 7 seconds off through the middle sector, and Kurt Stenberg's not looking a huge bit better himself. He's about a tenth off his PB.
Yeah, David Nedidich not setting the timing screens alight either, so it looks as if this is going to be our grid for the second race.
So that's 2 races in a row now with a Warren lockout of the front row. Dayne Warren getting the best of his brother Ethan Warren and keeping his perfect record in qualifying sessions alight as Kurt Stenberg elects to not finish that lap.
Luke Rosella again starting from 3rd, hopefully more successfully this time than the first race where he dropped to 8th before the first lap was finished.
Yeah, but if he didn't have a clutch pedal for race 1, I don't think he would have had one delivered and
I don't
installed.
think Australia Post delivers about 9 o'clock. I'm guessing he's on the eastern states.
Are they even allowed out of the house in the eastern states?
Could just bind the clutch to a button, presumably.
Yes,
wouldn't necessarily need a pedal.
Binary is a little bit more difficult than what you get with a clutch pedal.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
So, we now have the benefit of a warm-up session.
We do.
I wonder if we have enough time for a break.
I reckon we might do.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
All right, let's go for it.
That's
We're going to have
go.
a short break. On the other side, we'll bring all the action from race 2.
Hello everyone, let's talk about points today. So, what do you get just for winning a race? Well, in most rounds, 150 points is your reward for coming across the line in first place. And you come dead last, you're still going to get 30 points. That's better than not finishing the race, I can tell you that much. So that really does highlight consistency because you could have a terrific race, be battling for first all day long, and then you have a crash on the second last lap. That's it. You're going to make less points than the person who's been trundling along at the back all day. So it very much is a championship of consistency. As we saw last year with Kurt Stenberg, only the 2 wins for the year, with some of the other drivers getting 7, 8, 9 wins, and he was able to beat them. Why? because he consistently finished on the podium, and even those 4th and 5th place finishes, very, very, very valuable. Having said that, we do have the drop round, and that takes effect from Bathurst. So from round 1 to round 10, you can just forget about your worst result. Just never happened. All right, so that's pretty good, isn't it? You have a bad day, you can just completely forget about it. So Kurt Stenberg's already burned his joker in the pack in round 1 in Adelaide, having not been able to make the start, but it in theory shouldn't affect his championship too much, because going forward from now, as long as he has a good year, he could still be in the championship hunt. Now, we do have endurance races in this championship. The Bend, Bathurst, Surfers Paradise and Sandown are our endurance races. So one long race, all these points totals are doubled. So normally in the real life Supercars Championship, or at least this year, it's going to be the Bend, Bathurst and Surfers Paradise. They took a vote in the off season. Sandown will also be an endurance event. So 4 races for the Endurance Cup, and a lot of points on offer in those races. Now there's a couple other prerequisites to get the points. Drivers must complete 75% of the race distance. So that's 15 laps if it's a 20 lap race, let's say. And you also must cross the finish line. So you can't just get to lap 15 and think, I might just have an early shower and collect the points if you come into the pit. You've got to be running at the end of the race. So these 2 requirements must be fulfilled.
All the information you want about the Automobilista Supercars Championship is now all in one place. Visit asc.rocksolidmates.com for all the official ASC content, including season calendars, results and championship points, broadcast information, rules and regulations, lap records and more. You can also get updates on our official ASC Facebook page. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell notification icon to get notified whenever we go live for all championship races.
The Automobilista Supercars Championship is proudly brought to you by RSM, Rock Solid Mates, ARW, Apex Rear Wing, CW, Colin Warwick Designs, and Jinx Shifters.
Welcome back, everybody, to round 6 of the Automobilista Supercars Championship here at the Sydney Motorsport Park. Eastern Creek, you have picked us up in the warm-up session with about 15 seconds left to go before the second race of the night starts. I am Madbird, as always, and I am joined in the commentary box by Stairs, who is just finishing a mid-slice.
Bloody good biscuit that. Speaking of biscuits,
I was waiting for the segue.
we've got a poll going on the Apex Rear Wing Facebook channel, on Facebook page. I sound like one of those old people. Oh, you know, it's on the Facebook and the webcom and the dot and the search motor. You put in. No, if you go visit us on our Facebook, well, that's actually the Automobilista Supercars Championship Facebook there that we got on that lower third. But if you look at Apex Rear Wing, type Apex Rear Wing into Facebook, will come up, and we've got a very important poll about what the best better cream biscuit is.
Because
they're both quite mediocre biscuits that we're deciding of, but this is to settle a bit of a dispute between yourself and fellow commentator Matt Dunlop, isn't it?
That's correct. So he had the opinion that Kingston's are the best biscuit in any Arnott's biscuit pack, and Monte Carlos are the worst. And I believe that is, well, I don't think Monte Carlos are the best biscuit by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they're definitely better than Kingston's. So if you'd like to prove him wrong, currently there's been an incredible turnout for what is really a bit of a silly poll.
300 votes so
340 odd votes.
But I must play devil's advocate here, because I do want to see a close finish. If you do want the Kingston to win, you better get in there, because it's about 30 votes behind at the moment.
Yep, tell your family and Kingston-loving friends who haven't been, you know, ostracised from their communities to get in there and vote. Regardless, tonight here we are at the Sydney Motorsport Park. 16 laps, or about 60 kilometres, 100 points on offer for the win of each of our races tonight. 3 races, 2 times fuel usage, 5.5 litres a lap, and compulsory pit stop for 2 tyres. Although we saw in the first race, apparently tyre wear was set to ×3, and they just exploded come the midway point of the race.
So compulsory kind of is a bit of a misnomer there. It's not necessarily possible to do the race without changing tyres.
No, I reckon you'd be driving around on rims if you neglected to. Oh, in the background, in one of our shots, we've got Colin Warwick sitting at a jaunty angle.
That is strange.
Perhaps as he's got hydraulics on one side of his car only.
No.
Rider.
You're about one syllable behind me there. Oh, he's been righted now.
He's fixed himself.
Marvellous. Oh.
But Stairs, why don't you take us through the grid?
Well, Dayne Warren is the pole sitter.
He's just slowly sliding forwards there. Or he was for a split second. And now motionary. Motionary? Stationary. The opposite of
stationary. Sounds like a website we get a lot of our stock footage from called Motion Array. But Dayne Warren leads the way because he is the pole sitter. Once again, can anyone stop this man? Can his brother, Ethan Warren, stop this man from taking another victory? Both privateers, both splitting with Altus Esports over the silly season break, and Luke Rosella with no clutch pedal. Let's see how he gets off the line there on the second row, starting out of third place. Sean Allen, second place in the first race, and fourth place will be his starting position. I expect to see him up on the podium once again, Madbird. Jake Moloney is in fifth place. Good start to his night. Didn't compete in the first race, so he's straight on the pace. His teammate, defending champion Kurt Stenberg, behind him in sixth. Fellow admin Colin Warwick, another podium sitter from race number 1. He starts out of 7th place, ahead of Brody Steen, the second of the 2 Race on Oz cars. I say 2, there's actually 3 if you include the satellite car of Alex Cattle. And then Zach Baker leads his teammate in David Nanadich, 9th and 10th on the 5th row there for the 2 ZB guys. Benjamin Dahlia in 11th place. He had a strong result in the first race, finished in 6th place. Thomas McMillan, one of the retirements from the first race, and well, he's had all manner of issues getting his setup working tonight with the new gear. And then RSM Latino will start behind him, current Super 2 Championship leader. Alex Cattle in behind him, rounding out our grid of 14 cars, Madbird.
Yep, so same amount of cars as the first race. I'm not sure who we've lost, but we've picked up Jake Moloney, so it's all evens.
We've lost
Stevens.
the Mr. Filia.
Ah, of course, we've lost Brody Gostecki, who was victim to that particular tyre explosion.
Yeah, thank goodness we don't have to say that name again.
Might be something to get changed before the next round.
Yeah, but not in front of a child.
Or indeed at a church.
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
Luke Rosella on your screens. He started from 3rd last race, but as you said, with a faulty clutch pedal, or indeed no clutch pedal at all perhaps. Would like to know what's going on there. He dropped to 8th before the end of the first lap, so hopefully, for his sake, a better start this time around.
Let's see how that goes, hey? Well, we're all lining up now. The front 3 rows are in place. We've still got a few.
Dayne Warren doing a lot better getting into his grid slot this time around.
Yeah, they don't have a staggered grid in supercars like they do in some other forms, like Formula 1.
Sean Allen's doing his best to create one, though.
Yeah, he's given himself a disadvantage there, hasn't he?
A long run up.
Marvellous.
Into his grid slot. So.
Well, he probably won't need it since Luke Rosella doesn't have a clutch pedal.
Absolutely.
So, we're racing. And look at the wheel spin from Luke Rosella in that shot. I wonder how many spots he's going to lose. He's getting swallowed up already.
No.
Sean Allen looks to go between the 2 Warren brothers, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It's Ethan Warren around the outside. He seems to be slightly ahead, but then he is going to lose out in the braking zone as Dayne Warren takes the lead of the race, and Sean Allen takes 2nd place from Ethan Warren. But then Ethan will have the inside for the next corner. We've got Jake Moloney in behind there. In fact, is that Jake Moloney? No, it's Kurt Stenberg up quite a few spots. So Jake Moloney's got swallowed up on the start himself. He's back in about 7th or something. And we've got a yellow flag flashing. That's a safety car, Madbird.
That is a safety car on the first lap of this race. That helicopter in the background just going, what is happening? And that was almost exactly, shot for shot, exactly how the first race looked. We had Ethan Warren trying to go around the outside at turn 1. which is never going to work on a start here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and looks as if it has not come off. So we found the accident that has instigated the safety car. It was instigated by none other than Thomas McMillan, by the looks of it, straight into the back.
That was poor.
Of which ZB racing car was that? Zach Baker, I believe, just looking at the timing screens, because he is...
Zach Baker. David Nellidge on the outside there, and Colin Warwick also getting caught up in that, so some pretty ordinary driving there from Thomas McMillan.
Yeah, I don't know if he just wasn't expecting the cars to be braking for turn 2 or something, but regardless, he is rejoined at the back of the grid behind Zach Baker, but that's cold comfort for Zach Baker, and I imagine we're looking at a penalty coming towards Thomas McMillan, who seems to be going back to some of his old driving.
Yeah. I'm sure that he'll be getting a lot of the other guys who share a Discord server with him will be giving him a bit of shit right now.
A bit of what, sorry?
A bit of excrement. Not least of which is friend and fellow racer in Colin Warwick, who for some reason his name escaped me for a few moments there. So Colin Warwick probably wouldn't be particularly fond of what happened there. He's the one that got spun around. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage.
Yeah, hopefully not. It seemed like a pretty hefty shunt, but it hasn't affected this man's race. Dayne Warren still leading. Sean Allen actually in second place, so I wonder if that must be... he must have got that position just as the safety car got called out, because it looked like he was about to lose it. So
it was all happening through turn 2. He got up
incredibly
the inside
fortunate.
of Ethan. Ethan might have had the opportunity to get Sean back on the next corner because he had the inside, but then the safety car came out at that exact moment.
So the bell rings for thee, Sean Allen, at the perfect moment.
And they caught the safety car. So this means they can go a bit longer on their tyres if they need to. I have to get the rulebook out to see if they're allowed to pit under the safety car. I have a feeling that they are allowed to in this series, which would be very interesting if that is the case, because...
Depends how long it's out for, I suppose.
That's true. It
Although,
probably is no advantage to pitting this early, because you won't be able to make it to the end.
Because your tyres, as we saw in the first race, the tyres at around lap 8 or 9 simply exploded. So even if you manage to extend a couple of laps past that, you're still looking at 2 or 3 laps at the end of the race, where you're going to be driving on your rims. No lights on the safety car, so that's nice and helpful. We can't really tell when it's going to be going in.
We have absolutely no idea, so you know as much as we do, folks.
So we're just going to have to keep a weather eye on it as it trundles out of that last corner, whether it's going to dive into the pits. Beautiful bonnet cam shot there. It looks as if it is foregoing the pit entry, so we've got another lap under the safety car. So first full flying lap, of course, barring another safety car occurrence, is going to be lap 4.
Believe it or not, Dayne Warren still has the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1 minute 55.0.
Oh, it's not blistering.
Yeah, it's about 28 seconds slower than his fastest lap in the first race, but I reckon once this race gets underway in anger properly, he'll come pretty close to beating that.
I would very much hope so. Welcome along, anybody who's only just hopped in to watch the broadcast. Welcome from wherever you are around the country.
Now, somehow, Thomas McMillan has managed to get ahead of Zach Baker.
That is actually how he... No, you are correct. So maybe the game has recognised him as being ahead of Zach Baker when it called the safety car. And because Thomas McMillan did rejoin the track behind him, and then once they crossed the safety car line, it's obviously told them to swap. So I would hope, at the very least, Thomas McMillan will give that position up on the start.
I would have thought it was karmic balance that Thomas McMillan was behind Zach Baker.
You would hope so, but it doesn't appear to have worked out that way.
Imagine, that's a bit of insult, injury being added there, isn't it? By the safety, the game saying, oh, you were behind him. It's like, I was behind him sideways in the gravel after he collided with me.
Regardless, you were behind him. Get back in your spot.
Yeah.
If you're watching, make sure to give us a like, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't. And of course, once you've hit that subscribe, it would be remiss not to hit the bell notification icon so you can be notified whenever our streams are going live. Also, hop over onto Facebook, Automobilista Supercars Championship and Apex Rear Wing. Give them both a like.
Now, Dayne Warren's got the cog on his screen, which usually means that the driver has selected their pit stop.
Yeah.
I'd suggest that's a bit early.
I would suggest that's incredibly early, unless we've had unless they've changed the tyre usage between races, but I would not expect that they've done that. It looks as if safety car might be coming in this lap because he's letting it get away from him. You can see there it is well and truly ahead, so he's backing up the field now. He has become the safety car.
Very strange indeed.
Very, very wide line through that corner, so he's waiting for the green flag, which...
Safety cars looks like it might have been peeling in. Let's catch...
It has, and the green flag has dropped.
We are racing, and look at the jump that Dayne Warren's got already. Only been racing for a small...
Dayne Warren has got a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for, I've got no idea what. He's
backed out of it too.
He's backed out of it, which has promoted Sean Allen into the lead of this race with Dayne's brother Ethan right behind him as they race down towards the second corner. Sean Allen covering off the inside. No way through there for Ethan. So what the heck happened with Dayne Warren? A jump start, perhaps?
He's down into 14th place. Normally with these sorts of situations, the live steward, Chris Carr, will rectify any erroneous penalties given for these sorts of safety car things. It's very easy to trigger a safety car penalty on a restart, but it's not really... It's... Well, now he's last, so it doesn't really... Whether or not he's got the penalty, he's still going to have to make his way through the field.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm wondering, it seems to have disappeared off of the screen now. It usually would show up there that he has a penalty, so it must have been cleared, which is why he's now picked up pace again. But yeah, maybe he just had a jump start. As he said, he had a huge launch, and then he's just thrown his hands up before the penalty has been cleared. And so now he's got it all to do.
I wonder if he saw the penalty and then lifted out of it, so much that everyone went... It would be surprising if that meant the entire field got past. It may be 2 or 3 cars, but...
No, that seemed as if he was like intentionally pulling over and slowing down. So, very bizarre. Sean Allen at the front, though, has built a lead of about a second over that lap. So very, very good work to Sean Allen, the Race On Oz driver.
Yeah, it's done a great job. And look at this, Luke Rosella, a bit of a cork in the bottle. He's still third, even though, well, he only dropped 1 spot with his clutchless start. But now we've got Kurt Stenberg all over the back of him for that final spot on the podium. And Brody Steen, look at that opportunistic move up the inside. Kurt Stenberg was sizing up for a pass and then, in the end, ended up dropping a spot.
Yeah, Brody Steen, very, very good spotting of that particular opportunity and grabbing that while it presented itself. Luke Rosella is, meanwhile, just trying to keep his nose clean. Brody Steen shoving his nose where it doesn't belong, speaking of noses, into turn 4, but he managed to pull out of it just in time. And Brody Steen is now up into 4th place.
Looking racy. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Brody Steen right now. And the Race On Oz guys are having a terrific night of it so far, with Sean Allen leading the way out to a 1.5 second advantage now over Ethan Warren. And Dayne Warren, recovery... what did we just cut away from...
Luke Rosella getting a shunt from Brody Steen. Brody looks like he's pulled over to the inside of the track to redress the position.
Oh, what a shame.
And so he's lost out, and Luke Rosella has also lost out to the leading Trans-Tasman racer of Kurt Stenberg. So replay here.
So that was Brody Steen, just into
100%.
the back. Different lines, got caught out by the looks of it.
Didn't cost them too much at least, so no one got spun out. Luke Rosella just got forced a bit wide, although he is now the meat in a Trans-Tasman sandwich.
Kurt Stenberg laughing all the way to the bank. Now look at this, 3 wide down the main straight. We've got Zach Baker in the middle, getting tagged almost by Dayne Warren, recovering up the field, already up to 10th, and Colin Warwick losing out to the both of them. And I think Zach Baker's not going to fight that one too hard on the inside. Dayne Warren goes through.
Zach Baker with a decent recovery as well from the back of the grid. Thomas McMillan now down there in 14th.
Yeah, Thomas McMillan hasn't had the sort of night where he's covered himself with glory.
No, he doesn't often.
He has won a race in this championship.
He has. We were very proud of him, and then he seems to have gone astray since then.
He did have some excuses in the first race, the Perth race. I don't know if you remember, that was about a month ago. But he got up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, about an hour before
that's right,
the practice session started.
Well, that's really his own fault. Like, you can't really use that as an excuse when you've chosen to do that.
Yeah, now Jake Moloney's got himself in the thick of this battle. Has he managed to pass? Of course,
No,
we saw Brody and Luke both going off, so that explains how...
He's managed to overtake Luke, although very, very wide from Kurt Stenberg at the last corner. So nearly side by side, the two Trans-Tasman guys coming out of the last corner and straight down the straight. Down the straight. Very defensive line from Kurt Stenberg going right to the inside. Jake Moloney just thinking, no, I'm good out here. That's fine. You take that inside. And as it happens, Kurt Stenberg holds on to the position.
So the fastest lap of the race is held by Sean Allen currently.
Although, sorry, Kurt Stenberg very wide on the... Oh, no. And very wide on the second corner as well.
Going to be 3 wide now on the run down to 2. Brody Steen's going to come out of that, excuse me, as the leader of that particular battle. And Kurt Stenberg loses 2 spots in 1 corner. So Luke Rosella pops up in 5th. Kurt Stenberg, he must have dropped his sack of money as he was laughing all the way to the bank, because it's now just there's coins all over that carpet floor.
I reckon I saw him having a huge lockup. Maybe he's flat spotted a tyre or something, and on 3 times tyre wear that could be absolutely crucial.
This is Dayne Warren making his way past Benjamin Dahlia for 8th place. David Nenadic next for him, so the recovery continues. And if we look at the gap it's 10 seconds to the leader in Sean Allen. I wonder if he has enough time to make up that sort of advantage.
He's got 9 laps to go plus a pit stop, and he's gained what? He's gained 6 positions in 3 laps time. So I'd say it's very much within reason. Oh, he's
depends
pumping
how
and
long.
marging.
Once he gets up to the faster guys, he won't be losing so much time in traffic. But at the moment, he's bleeding about 0.8 of a second per lap to Sean Allen.
That man ahead of him is one of those faster guys, Kurt Stenberg.
My goodness, he's caught him quickly. So Kurt Stenberg,
I think has got tyre issues because I saw him a huge lockup.
it is lap 8.
It is lap 8, so this is about when we saw the tyres exploding last race, but they did have a couple of laps under safety car, so would expect that to be extended another lap also.
It actually makes it a bit easier. In fact, it might even make it a bit more of a strategy game this race, because they've got a larger window in which to make their pit stops.
Dayne Warren ducking down the inside of Kurt Stenberg, who's all off. He looked like he had 2 left-hand tyres off the track. Stays on the inside of Dayne Warren though, coming down and into turn 5. Looks like he's kept the position, forces Dayne Warren wide off the track, and they're side by side going down into turn 6.
Contact there, Kurt Stenberg into the door of Dayne Warren, and everyone behind catches up while that's happening. Benjamin Dahlia in the mirrors of Kurt Stenberg, but Dayne Warren has a bit of a break now, and it's now Kurt Stenberg with 2 cars in his rear vision mirror, one in the right, one in the left, and it looks like it's going to sort itself out before they get to the next corner. In fact, Dahlia gets a better run. He's going to go around the outside there of turn number 9. Sean Allen, the race leader's coming into the pits, but look at this, 4 cars occupying 1 spot. I wonder if we're going to see everyone else peel in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about that time of the race, as we were just saying. Sure, and Kurt Stenberg seems to definitely be struggling, but he continues on.
Half of them have gone in, half of them didn't.
Benjamin Dahlia. So we've got Colin Warwick and Zach Baker peeling off into the pits. Sean Allen, your race leader there, and Dayne Warren, it looks like, as well into the pits. So,
ooh, look at this. Kurt Stenberg up the inside at turn 2 on Benjamin Dahlia. So these two have elected to go 1 more lap, and I wonder if that'll serve them better at the back end of this race. The cars who have pitted, though, will get the benefit of an undercut, especially with fresher tyres and tyres that wear so quickly. The ones that Kurt and Benjamin are on at the moment are going to be very, very second-hand indeed. Sean Allen back on the racetrack.
Yeah, rejoins in 9th position. So his closest rival, who was running in 2nd
Well,
place?
Ethan's gone up into first, so he hasn't pitted.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how Ethan Warren comes out, if he manages to close that gap to Sean Allen at all in the course of those pit stops. David Nenadic has DNF'd. I'm not sure what happened there, but that is the night is not going well for the ZB Racing guys in general. And Kurt Stenberg still defending from Benjamin Dahlia as they come to finish this lap. Surely going to be pitting at the end of this lap. You can see the tyres are struggling.
So Jake Moloney was one of the other guys who didn't pit by the looks of it, and has actually got quite a break. 7 seconds up the road from Kurt Stenberg. That's surprising. And Ethan Warren hasn't pitted on this lap.
So he's soldiering on. He was one of the drivers, and Kurt Stenberg continues on. Benjamin Dahlia pulls in.
Yep.
Ethan Warren was one of the drivers who lost out
Steen.
in the first race.
So Brody Steen, Jake Moloney, Luke Rosella, they've also come in.
And Benjamin Dahlia there, as we said, as well. And looks like RSM Latino as well. So close pit exit there for Jake Moloney. Pit release into as Benjamin Dahlia sneaks in ahead of Luke Rosella. Poor Luke Rosella's going to have to try to find his way out of there.
I want to see how Luke...
Thomas McMillan off the track.
No surprises.
No surprises, but I reckon that's...
Jake Moloney's got a drive-through penalty. Oh, no. And I didn't see how Luke Rosella got out of his pits, but it looks like it was all right.
It looks like he's managed it. There's no damage on the front of that Mustang. So, well done to him. Ethan Warren currently our race leader, but
Still
only
out.
because he hasn't pit.
And Kurt Stenberg is only 10 seconds behind him.
Yep, has also not pit.
Beg your pardon. So Sean Allen is the effective race leader. He has pitted, and he's the first car in the order to have pit.
Yeah, 34.5 seconds behind Ethan Warren, so I imagine Ethan Warren will not maintain that lead coming out of the pits.
Look at this battle going on now. This is Zach Baker and RSM Latino for 10th. Race leader in the pits, Ethan Warren, as expected.
So
maybe one lap later than we expected, but...
He's going to have much fresher tyres at the end of the race than Sean Allen, but has he spent too much time on those old tyres, losing time to Sean Allen, as Sean Allen's been punching in hot laps. Kurt Stenberg finally coming into the pits as well as his tyres cry enough.
Well, they're going to be strong right now because the other guys...
Lots of near misses in the pit lane today.
Yeah, I hope they're not forgetting that this is Automobilista and not iRacing, because in iRacing you can drive through other cars. Now, I'm interested to see where Sean... Well, there he is. He just popped through the shot. And Jake Moloney's coming into the pits again.
Drive-through penalty for Jake Moloney.
Of course. Good call.
From the pit stop last
There's a lot to keep up with these races, isn't there? My goodness gracious me. So let's see what Sean Allen has emerged from this pit stop phase with. A 6-second lead is what it looks to be like at the moment.
I've been spoiled with the BTCC Apex rear wing races with no pit stops or anything to keep track of. It's nice and simple.
Yeah.
These ones they're taxing my old brain a little bit.
Jake Moloney with his drive-through penalty, which he's now served. Unfortunately, that's going to drop him all the way down to 10th place. And Dayne Warren... I feel like Dayne Warren should be further up than that, even though he's made his pit stop.
Unless he's made an error somewhere. Dayne Warren should definitely be higher up than 11th.
He's done a 2-minute 17 lap time. It suggests to me that that's a pit stop, but I feel like
even so,
he should be further up.
He should,
I think
he was
he pitted earlier. I wonder if he's had 2 pit stops.
Potentially, that could be a possibility. Sean Allen, though, has only had the one, and he is still in the lead by 7.2 seconds. And Brody Steen, actually, decent recovery after his escapades with Luke Rosella, is back up into the podium positions in 3rd place with all the pit stops having shaken out. So interesting that Sean Allen seems to have the measure of Ethan Warren's pace. Just Ethan Warren struggling to take the challenge to the race honours driver.
It's been a while since Ethan Warren has raced in this series, so might not be as comfortable with Automobilista as he was earlier in the year. And Sean Allen is just going from strength to strength right now. So he's, if anything, I was going to say building a gap. It seems to be...
Luke Rosella has just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:27.8, so
nice job.
Very well done to the Tamiya driver.
What else have we got happening? I'm just trying to see.
Closest battle on the racetrack is between Luke Rosella and Benjamin Dahlia over 5th place by the looks of it, and that's still about a second, so everything's sort of calmed down a little bit after a frantic start to this race. Everyone's sort of spread out. Dayne Warren is 30 seconds off of Jake Moloney, who is in 10th place, so something is amiss.
Oh, there you go. Dayne Warren's just set the fastest lap of the race.
Something is amiss, I say, as Dayne Warren sets the fastest lap of the race, so obviously not amiss to him. Thomas McMillan...
But he's in last place and he's 13 seconds behind Jake Moloney, so...
Yeah. So I'm not sure what's happened there, why he is so far behind. Thomas McMillan, Jake Moloney and Colin Warwick. We just missed Jake Moloney DNFing from the race.
Yeah, I wonder why that was.
Thomas McMillan and Colin Warwick also have DNF'd.
Yeah, Colin Warwick got punted up the back end at the beginning of the race, unfortunately for him.
And
So-
Thomas McMillan we saw spinning into the wall just a couple of laps ago.
So what we've got is a podium that we're not particularly used to seeing. Well, we're used to seeing Sean Allen on the podium, but he hasn't won a race this year yet. He had a tremendous battle at Pukekohe, if you remember that one, Madberg.
I do remember that
with
one, yes.
Thomas McMillan for the majority of the race.
That was a thriller.
That was the highlight of the year so far. Not many highlights this year. I mean in general, not. I mean in terms of the racing's been good. I just mean the year itself.
The year itself, we've had bushfires, we've had pandemics, and we've had a lot of horrible things happening to nice people. So
No one remembers that Kobe Bryant died. Normally that would be the headline of the year, but you know, so many things.
I actually forgot until very recently when I saw a meme that was Kobe Bryant was replaced with a text box that said "My plans for 2020," and then him getting in the helicopter. and there were several people that said that's a bit too soon, and I thought, is it? Yeah, it is.
But it felt like years had passed.
Yeah, I can't believe the bushfires were this year. My goodness.
Well, anyway, Sean Allen.
After that cavalcade of misery, Sean Allen.
I'm very happy for him. He's done a terrific job in this race so far. Ethan Warren in second place. He probably would have been hoping for the win with his brother out of contention. And Brodie Steen on the podium will be another strong result for the Race on Oz guys. So a double podium. Yeah. I don't think that's the first time this year they've had a double podium. I'm just trying to see through.
I reckon it's happened before. Or Brodie Steen, I know.
Last race in Perth, Sean Allen and Zach. Sorry, no, I'm looking at Zach Baker.
I reckon I think they've both had podiums, but not concurrently.
Second race at Adelaide, Brodie Steen and Dayne Warren. No, that's you're right. You are right.
I reckon because Brodie Steen had a couple of podiums early in the piece.
Yep.
And then Sean Allen has picked up the slack later on.
There's seldom a race this year where one of them isn't actually on the podium. More often than not, one of them will be. If Sean Allen isn't, Brodie Steen will be. But tonight it looks like they're both going to score podiums. Not to put the mockers on them at this early stage of the end of the race.
They just got to keep their heads down. They've only got 2 laps to go. And Brodie Steen does have Kurt Stenberg growing ever closer in his rearview mirror, so he's just got to keep himself calm.
Speaking of growing closer in the mirror, Benjamin Dahlia has had 1 second taken out of his advantage for 5th place by Luke Rosella behind him. So looming ever closer is the AAR driver.
And this is our closest battle on track as they come through the hairpin at turn 8. Benjamin Dahlia having a successful call up from Super 2, must be said. Finished in 6th in the first race. At the moment, sitting in 5th.
Looks like it's playing out similar to the first race because he was in 5th in the first race but lost that in the back end of the race to finish 6th. I'm sure he would be happy with 6th, but I'm sure he would be happier with 5th.
Absolutely. And Luke Rosella starting from 3rd, having some. Oh my goodness!
Sorry.
That was explosive. I thought it was the tyres exploding, not your pants. But Luke Rosella.
It stayed in.
Luke Rosella having a bad start with that binary clutch he seems to be using. Lots and lots of tyre spin off the start and just dropping places.
I think Benjamin's driving in his mirrors here. He locked up into 2, and it's similar to how he lost 5th place in the first race. I'm just remembering him going deep at turn 2 to relinquish that position in the first race of the night.
Yeah, I can smell that one.
Sorry.
Benjamin Dahlia is just, as you say, he seems to be paying way too much attention to the car behind and not anywhere near enough attention to the track ahead. He's managing to keep it on the racetrack at this stage, but Luke Rosella getting ever closer. Oh, nearly cut his nose off.
It's affecting Dahlia's lines now, so they're slowing each other down. They don't have to worry too much. Zach Baker's about 3 seconds behind. Bit of an inside lock up there on the front tyre for Benjamin Dahlia. Yep. Those tyres might be a bit flat spotted as the leader starts the beginning of the last lap of the race.
Starts the beginning of the last lap. He does indeed. Oh. Very wide line there from Luke Rosella, which should give him a better run off this last corner.
Should, if he hasn't.
Oh, and definitely will with that little wiggle there from Benjamin Dahlia. That'll kill his straight line speed.
Yep.
All the way down this straight, and it's a very important first corner. He's going to try to hang it around the outside. Good on him.
Nah.
And it's lost already, but he can carry a bit more pace through the first corner with that wider entry, but it looks as if not enough.
Good driving from Luke. He's quite a good defensive driver, Luke Rosella. Can be quite frustrating to follow. I know Colin Warwick had some difficulty passing him in some of the previous races, not least of which Simmons Plains, which I think was his first round.
Yeah, I think we're all quite impressed with him because it was this name that we don't recognise, and he was up there fighting with people we usually see at the front. Speaking of people we usually see at the front, Sean Allen.
I feel I'm a bit sad that I won't be able to have a chat to him in the interviews after this.
I think he'd be stoked.
Because he's quite an understated winner. You know, he's great win there. It's like, oh yeah, it was all right. You know, it was pretty good actually. I go all right at this track.
I can't think of too many of the drivers who overcome with emotion in the interviews that we do.
Yeah, they're all quite level-headed when it comes to their interviews. But Sean Allen, take nothing away from him. What a terrific victory. And 7 seconds ahead of Ethan Warren.
That's no small feat. Yeah, Ethan Warren is no slouch, and to show him up so succinctly, very well done to Sean Allen. Brody Steen is going to come home just in third.
Wow, Kurt Stenberg with a late run.
Yeah, that closed up at the end. Very, very close. And Luke Rosella's going to take that 5th place, so recovered to only 2 positions off his starting position. So Benjamin Dahlia loses out and finishes 6th for the 2nd race in a row. RSM Latino in 7th. Alex Cattle's going to cross the line in 8th. So decent finish for Race on Oz all around, all in the top 10. Ooh. And
is that finished? No.
No. So this is still live. Zach Baker and
Dayne Warren
having an immense accident at the. See if we can get a replay of that at the last corner. And Zach Baker limping. He's flashing the lights at Dayne Warren, so he's not happy.
Yeah, let's watch this with context.
Yeah, so looks like his tyres maybe were falling off because it looks like he's spun all by himself. And this is going into turn 9 and then slow. Turn 10. Very slow indeed. And then, yeah, just gets...
I wonder when he pitted.
Lights it up on those curbs. And
then, Dayne Warren was completely... Like, he was off the track. Zach Baker was off the track.
Yeah.
Yes, that is kind of the line they take sometimes. But
yeah, but I don't think you can really blame Zach Baker for that one, unless Dayne Warren was also losing control of his car at the time.
Let's see that from Dayne Warren's perspective.
Whether he was also...
Oh, he's had a spin before that as well. So no, sorry, that was the one we looked at. He had 2 spins.
So it looks like he ran wide a bit as well. Maybe he got a bit of understeer.
Yeah, I think his tyres were pretty second-hand as well.
And then straight into Zach Baker. So that is unfortunate for both of them, but Zach Baker's come off worst for the 2nd time this race as a result of an accident. He wasn't happy about it.
What a bizarre race finish for those two.
What an absolutely bizarre race finish. You wouldn't expect Zach Baker and, well, you wouldn't expect Dayne Warren to be having a crash over the last position in the race anywhere. So, yeah, what a bizarre.
It was strange. Well, it was. 9th and 10th. 9th and 10th still pay fairly handsomely in terms of points, and I think the gap between those 2 positions is around about 2 points, with the 300 points being divided 3 ways now for 3 different races as opposed to 2 ways.
Zach Baker probably still not particularly happy though.
No.
So,
well,
race 2 done.
Reset. Race 3.
Reset.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Round 6, race 3. Here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We're getting ready to hop into our 3rd qualifying session of the night, which will be another 10 minutes. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Stairs, and say I'm calling Dayne Warren to take pole position.
Well, it's all fallen apart for Dayne Warren in the middle part of the night, hasn't it? He's got a chance now to regroup and finish on a high, and he can forget about what happened in the middle of the night. If all goes to plan for him. Certainly makes it interesting for us. We get a bit of a different result. So Sean Allen becomes only the 4th different driver to win a race in this year's championship. The other 2 being, the 4 drivers to win races in this year's championship are Ethan Warren and Dayne Warren, Thomas McMillan and Sean Allen.
So of those, we have all 4 racing tonight, so that would imply that we've got 4 people who are that are tipped for a win. But as it is,
I'm putting all my chips on Thomas McMillan.
He's going to pull it all together for the 3rd race.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if he's finally sorted out his wheel.
I think there are nights that are his nights and nights that aren't his nights, and I think this is
Yeah, Surface Paradise.
The latter as opposed to the former.
So my voice broke then.
Surface Paradise was looking
over it.
Surface Paradise was looking like it was going to be his, but it just didn't come to be. He was absolutely looking unbeatable that day.
I was gutted on his behalf that particular evening. And I reckon we're definitely in night time now.
No, we had this last time.
Did we?
We did.
Oh, alright.
That's why we're not looking at it.
Oh, and now it's daylight again. Yep. You are absolutely correct. So Eastern Creek, Sydney Motorsport Park, round 6 of the Automobilista Supercars Championship here. Circuit length 3.93 kilometers. Kilometers. Circuit direction is anti-clockwise. That first corner is going to root your right-hand tires. And
I was doubting my graphic making ability there.
And you can see there that it has at least 11 turns. And no more, no less. 2019 records and pole sitters NA. This is the first time we've run at 4 points here at Automobilista Supercars Championship. The sort of silly season test race here before the first round last season, but first time doing it for points. So we have just ticked over to the start of our third qualifying session, and we've got a few people hopping out into the lane, one of which is Luke Rosella.
Yeah, Luke Rosella, who got a position late in that race and finished in 5th place, ahead of the car that he was battling, which was the call-up, Benjamin Dahlia from Super 2. So that's 2 6th places in a row for Benjamin Dahlia. Consistent. Yeah. I think he just needs to work on dealing with cars in his mirrors. The defensive driving late in the race can be quite important.
It can. You've got to... It's sort of a fine line. You've got to try to make it as difficult as possible for other cars to overtake you, but you also have to make sure that you're not thinking only about that, because surprisingly, defensive lines aren't the fastest way to go around a racetrack.
Well, 7-time Apex Rear Wing champion Xeris has told us quite a few times during post-race interviews that when he realises that there are cars behind him that are faster, he just doesn't look in his mirrors.
Yep, he just continues driving his race and worries about it when it happens, which to have an entire mental strategy that you have when you're in the lead of a race that he's developed just goes to show how lucky he is to have that level of talent.
Yeah, it's easy enough. When I was racing, I was never faster. I was very rarely the fastest person in an entire grid, but if I did find myself in front, I wanted to make sure that I was very, very difficult to pass, so I knew exactly where the car behind me was, and I was driving completely in my mirrors, and I managed to do that quite a few times and not make a mistake for 45 minutes, so you learn to deal with it after a while.
Yeah, that was a train wreck of a beginning of a sentence. The last round of the DRMs, I had Brenton Foley up my chuff for the better part of probably half an hour, which was quite disconcerting, especially with the way he drives. So that was fun. Look forward to seeing what he can do tomorrow night at Silverstone GP circuit in the BTCC cars. But
the old version, the bridge layout.
That's it.
Before they introduced the arena complex.
But at the moment, we've got Luke Rosella here, lights ablaze, letting everyone know I'm on a fast lap. Or is he, as he comes through the second sector?
I'd like to see a Tamiya model of that Tamiya liveried car.
I know. I wonder if there is a Tamiya Mustang supercar model. I very much doubt it, but I guess never say never.
Never say never.
I'm always surprised by the things that there are models of.
There are some esoteric interests out there.
I have a model. Never to be put together, of course, of an RF86 Sabre, very wide. That might be a track cut. The RF86 being a particular brand of F86 Sabre that has no guns, has a big camera in its belly to take reconnaissance photographs, and it actually did set a lap time, so that seemed like a very big track extension at the last corner.
Decent lap time as well. 27.7 is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, he was within a second of the pole position on both, I think, the last two qualifying sessions. So he is at the moment within 0.3 of a second of Ethan Warren, who has taken the
Yeah, but look at this,
top
Dayne
step.
Warren coming to the line now, and he goes comfortably to the top of the timesheets on a 26 another 26.7.
A cool second faster than Luke Rosella's time.
Like clockwork. I think that's the first lap time that he set in the qualifying session for the second race. So within 1/10 of a second, almost always straight out of the pits. That's
He can just
remarkable.
switch it on.
He can.
Incredible.
Envious.
Very, very much so. Sean Allen finally getting out of the pits.
Yeah, he is very, very cool, calm, and collected, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that was the thing, that he wasn't cool, calm, and collected at the start of the season. That's why he wasn't having the results, and I think he was a bit frustrated, which was leading to the lack of results. So
He had
seems
results
to-
in the pre-season, and I think that led to a bit of expectation.
Yeah, he's sort of calmed down a little bit now and pulled his head in a bit, which I don't think he'll be upset for me saying, but he's reaping the rewards for it now.
Well, he can't say anything back to you because we can't interview them today.
Well, exactly. So I mean, I could really say whatever the hell I want. But when if I'm not sure if Sean Allen watches these broadcasts back, I know that Colin Warwick and Kurt Stenberg definitely do, and Thomas McMillan in as well. So all I can say for Thomas McMillan is at least he's set a lap time this time.
Well, Kurt Stenberg's in one of the safe states, like you and I, man, bird.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't want to live in Victoria.
Neither would I.
Just leave that one hanging there. Who'd want to go to Victoria?
Oh, Kurt's Thomas McMillan. Spin, spin, spin. What is going on? Speaking of Victorian things,
Victoria Bitter. I saw a headline today, I believe it was a Onion article, saying that Victoria Beckham has changed her name to Adelaide Beckham, because who likes Victoria Bitter anyway?
shouldn't it be South Australia, Beckham?
Well, I suppose so, but you know, Adelaide is actually a name of
I
a lady's
see.
name, so
Melbourne, more like Airborne.
I wonder where Melbourne
Virus.
comes from as a name.
Was there a Lord Melbourne? I feel like that sounds.
Was there? That does sound like a surname now that you mention it. Was there a? Where's Western Australia come from? Was there a Western Australia man?
Yes.
A Lord Western Australia?
Yeah, that's Edward Lord Weston.
Ah, excellent. I know you're pulling stuff out of your ear, but I am nevertheless eating it up. That's a turn of phrase.
Yeah, Edward Lord Weston. He did have a very storied rivalry with Richard Oswald Southern. Well, sorry, South was his name.
Southern Australia.
Of whom South Australia is named
Ah,
after.
absolutely.
Yeah. Utter crap coming out of my mouth. So
I'm surprised that we're not called Colonel Light Australia, considering how much we glorify the man. Land City,
yes,
bloody marvellous.
just like Canberra, except better than Canberra.
Except you'd want to live here.
Well, not according to Daniel Andrews.
Well, yeah, but then, you know, within a week of him saying that, his state had 100 cases of coronavirus. So Colin Warwick has yet to set a lap time. He's just coming around the last corner now.
A little bit of a wide apex.
Not looking like it's going to be quick. You're looking at around a 27. And he's
there or
gonna be
thereabouts.
behind that. So fourth place. Pretty
Not looking
decent.
like it's going to be quick. Finishes inside the top 5. Very, very close to
Just
Zach
goes to
Baker's
show how
time.
much I know.
Sean Allen slot into 4th place ahead of Colin Warwick and dropped Colin down to 5th.
And Sean Allen is tantalisingly close to Luke Rosella's time ahead, within a 10th of that 3rd place starting position. Although, judging by Luke Rosella's starts, we might as well call that 3rd position as Sean Allen's, regardless.
You say that, but he actually didn't have too bad a start on race 2. Only lost 1 spot.
He lost a couple of spots off the start, but then managed to fight it back into turn 2.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those. It's quite a bravery corner. Turn 1, so yeah, you can sort of get back a bit of what you've lost off the start there.
Because some people do take it a little bit easy, and more power to them if they choose to do so. Lost a couple of viewers who were probably from Victoria.
Yeah, probably. Down from 17 to 14.
Do apologise.
It's too late.
You're
There's no
gone
need to
now.
apologise for those who are gone.
Yeah,
those
no,
who
that's a good
those
point.
who have
Those who
stuck
stayed.
around.
Yep.
Glad you can take a joke.
Most Victorians I speak to have no illusions about how messed up their current situation is.
Most of my family's from Victoria, so you know. Like
Your football team from Victoria.
exactly.
Oh, one of them came back.
My accent's from Victoria, I'm told sometimes.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you've got
when
a particularly...
when I say things like branch and,
Oh,
dance.
instead of branch.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
But I'm not saying castle. I can't say that.
No. Or what's another one? Prep. The way they pronounce
it really
reception.
depends where you grew up. I'm not going to call it prep if it wasn't called prep where I went to.
No, that's fair. There is another word that...
Although everyone gets surprised when they hear what South Australians call it.
Reception.
Reception.
I know, it is a...
It's like I'm just standing in the reception of the...
Well, they don't even have it in
school.
In the US. They've got kindergarten and then you go straight into... I guess they've got preschool, which is kind of the equivalent.
Spin, Brody Steen.
Speaking of preschool...
He's lost a mirror more than... Oh, he's got more than he bargained for there. Let's see what happened to Brody Steen there. I think that was another turn 1 accident. No, I'm wrong.
We're within a minute.
Very much wrong.
We're within 30 seconds, indeed, of the end of this session. So, that was going into turn 7.
Tipped it in, and the rear didn't want to comply.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, anyone who's not out on the track now is unlikely to be able to set a time. So, Kurt Stenberg is one of the ones who will still be able to set this lap
Colin
time.
Warwick, same thing as the other qualifying session.
Indeed. So, the admins seem to be across when they can, although Colin Warwick's not going to be able to cross the line to start a new flying lap. His current one will
only just though.
Will only just, and he's not fast. He's already behind us, and he's pulling into the pits. So, a anti-climax there for Colin Warwick.
An anti-climax indeed, and that just leaves Kurt Stenberg as the only car left running at the end. That's very surprising. The timer's only just ticked down to 0.
Yeah, and everyone else seems to have gone, no, I can't better that. Let's just deal with it. Luke Rosella starting from 4th place at this stage.
Wow.
Instead, well,
he actually can't go any worse than 4th.
Nothing can change. So
it's been actually a terrific qualifying session for Kurt Stenberg thus far.
Yeah, he's blitzed it. It doesn't look like he's going to improve at this stage. He only needs a 10th. I went to say 1,000. He needs exactly 1/10 to take that second position from Ethan Warren, but I don't think he's going to get it unless he's at an absolutely blistering last corner.
Dayne Warren only did 1 flying lap.
Jesus. Rub it in, Dayne, as Kurt Stenberg crosses the line and does not improve.
Not by much, though. Only 400s down on his other lap. So very, very consistent from Kurt Stenberg. I think he'll be pleased with that. Second only to the Warren brothers.
Sean Allen starting from 5th, but he did start from 5th and had finished on the podium in the first race, so definitely don't count that out. And that was all she wrote for qualifying for race number 3.
That's it. We're going to have a break. See you soon.
Today we're going to talk about what happens when you're a little bit naughty in the Automobilista Supercars Championship and you have to get put in the sin bin. Most penalties are applied post-race as a points penalty coming off your total points, or as a grid drop, so you start the next round a little bit lower than where you qualify. Now, those are applied by the stewards who look at all the incidents that get reported after the race so that they can have a measured approach to whatever penalty may be suitable. Now, the exceptions to that are pit lane penalties, which are applied by the game, usually for things like spitting in the pit lane, jumping the start, or excessive track cuts. Now, those can't be reversed because they are correctly applied penalties. Wrongful penalties can sometimes occur during the safety car period on restarts, for example, and for that purpose we have a live steward to clear all wrongful penalties. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about the types of points penalties that you can get for on-track indiscretions. So we've got minor, standard or major incidents where the driver is deemed to be at fault. For a minor incident, we've got a penalty of 10 to 15 points. For a standard incident, we've got a 35-point penalty or a 10-place grid drop for the following round. And then in the case of a major incident, 50 points. That's quite a lot. 50-point penalty or exclusion from qualifying at the next round, meaning you would be starting the next race from the back of the grid. Now, deliberate wrecking or extremely reckless driving is very much frowned upon. So in that case, we've got a 2-strike system. So for a first offence there, that would be a round ban. And then if you were to do that again, having already served a punishment the first time round, the second time would incur a series ban. So that's very much discouraged, deliberate wrecking or extremely reckless driving. Now, typing unnecessary or abusive text in the game chat, that incurs a 50 points penalty. Now, that's because it's quite distracting if you're doing that. So, especially during qualifying, you don't want unnecessary text coming up on your screen. So that's banned, and so that's why there's a 50-point penalty for that. Speeding in the pit lane. Now, this is for practice and qualifying sessions because the game will give you a drive-through for doing that in the race. But during official sessions, that is a 5-point penalty, bit of a slap on the wrist. Same for unauthorized headlight use. That is a 5-point penalty, and that is per lap. So any time that you're using your headlights and you're not allowed to, you incur a 5-point penalty per lap that you've used it. So you've done it 10 laps in a row, that's 50 points. Can add up pretty quickly. Authorized headlight use is for things such as being on a qualifying hot lap, if you're leading the race, or if you're lapping drivers during the middle of a race. That is authorized headlight use. Contact in the pit lane, that's a 35-point penalty. Entering the fast lane of a pit lane before the red light goes out in official sessions, that is a 5-point penalty. And then we've got reckless and stupid behavior. So that's things like trying to bring out the safety car, intentionally wrecking. Those sorts of things are very much frowned upon. So again, we've got a little bit like this one. We've got a strike system. In this case, 3 strikes and you're out. We've got a qualifying exclusion as your first offence. If you do it again, you're banned from a race. So you get a race ban for that one. And then a third offence there, you've already been warned twice, you've been punished twice. That would be a series ban. And those are all the ways that you can get in trouble. Probably not an exhaustive list, but all the ways you can get in trouble in the Automobilista Supercars Championship. Back to you in the studio.
Welcome back to Tyre Recycling Motorsport Park, as Luke Rosella refers to it, for the third race of the 6th round. 3 nights, well, 3 races I should say tonight, and we've seen Dayne Warren win one of them, we've seen Sean Allen win one of them, but Dayne Warren has claimed pole for all 3 races, and he will start this race ahead of Ethan Warren. As we saw in the first race, the tyres have been quite a factor, with the tyre wear set to ×3, and although there is the official rule of tyres being compulsory to change, as my co-commentator loses the doorknob off of the door of the commentary box, I've lost my train of thought thanks to that, as what a professional operation we run. Compulsory pit stop is what I was talking about. You must stop at least 2 tyres, but on a racetrack like this, you absolutely need to change probably all 4 tyres, I should imagine, at pretty much exactly the halfway mark. Luke Rosella, like, as I was talking about earlier, calls this place Tyre Recycling Motorsport Park.
Yeah, absolutely.
A classic zinger.
Beautifully done. Yeah, as we saw again in race 2, tyres just seem to, about lap 8 seems to be about the maximum they can handle before they just go and start exploding all over the place.
And when there's 16 laps in the race, that leaves you a very narrow window in which to take that pit stop.
Yeah, we did have a safety car the first couple of laps of the second race, so that did extend it a tiny bit. We saw Kurt Stenberg and who was the other one? Ethan Warren. Both ran a couple of laps longer than we would expect. I think they pit on lap 10.
It very nearly paid off for Kurt. He had that late run at Brodie Steen for the podium.
Almost side by side going, well, they were side by side, but almost a dead heat crossing the line. But
so
wasn't.
That safety car really opened up the pit window for those guys. So we saw quite a variance in strategy for race 2.
We did.
The game decides whether to be day or night.
It's having to think about it.
It's a jolly old think.
Perhaps there's lightning. That's what the flashes are.
Well, Sydney is famed for its stormy weather.
Is it?
Well, it gets some massive hailstones sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Remember when I was a kid seeing pictures on the news of golf ball sized, or larger than that, football-sized hailstones.
Well, your Mitsubishi Lancer has been victim to some
Unfortunate.
large hailstorm at Stones, hasn't it?
Yes. Drastically bad luck, that. 35 degrees in the morning it was, and then we had this horrendous hailstorm in the afternoon.
Now you've got a golf ball for a roof.
Speed holes, I suppose you could call.
Speed dents.
Yeah.
It makes the air suck down into them as it goes over the rooftop. Sucks the car into the road, gives you more power. Or not more power, but more stickiness.
Flanders would believe it.
Absolutely. Well, Flanders would believe bloody anything. Although, you know, hens love roosters, geese do love ganders. And everyone else loves Ned Flanders. Glad you got that, because otherwise that would have sounded like absolute nonsense.
Hens
but
love roosters. Geese love ganders.
Not me. Everyone who counts loves Ned Flanders. Dayne Warren, your pole sitter for the 3rd time tonight.
Yeah, it's your turn actually, isn't it, to go through?
Is it?
Yeah, you did the first one, I did the second one. And
we're not used to doing 3. All right, I guess I'll do this one.
It's a little bit uneven because of the 3. We can't do one each. We can do one each, and then we could rock off.
I mean, I was doing the first one while you were trying to, you know, get the setup all sorted. So, you know, we'll call that one even. What isn't even is Dayne Warren's night. He had a first place in the first race, and then in the second race he was tussling over the last position on track with Zach Baker and having a massive accident at the last corner. So let's hope for his sake that that his fortunes are different in this race.
Massive accident.
Massive accident.
We've lost Jake Moloney in the interim as well.
Oh, bugger. So we're down to 13 runners. Second of which for the race is Ethan Warren, who just does not seem to have the pace to cover his brother, Dayne Warren, ahead of him. He's going to try to go around the outside again, I'm calling, at the first corner, but probably not get it done. And then he was struggling to get the position done on Sean Allen as well, so hopefully a better race for Ethan Warren. Kurt Stenberg, better starting position on the second row of the grid in 3rd place. What can he do from there? Maybe a podium position for him in the offing. Luke Rosella, who has been starting from 3rd the first 2 races, but with a clutch issue, is losing positions off the start. So Sean Allen behind him in 5th place will be looking at that 4th place as his. Behind him, the other Race on Oz driver of Brody Steen with a podium position just in the second race. Colin Warwick in 7th place with a podium position in the first race and a DNF in the second. Let's hope that his luck is more the first race than the second this time around.
Got a few cars between himself and Thomas McMillan.
He does, which will be some comfort for Colin Warwick. Zach Baker behind him, who also had some run-ins with Thomas McMillan, and it must be said Dayne Warren. So let's hope for a cleaner race for his sake. You mentioned Alia just dipping a tyre into the track there. It's finished 6th in both races tonight, so very consistent. Let's hope for a better result for him tonight, or at least 6th again. Thomas McMillan behind him has got 2 DNFs from 2 races so far tonight, so let's hope that he continues his fine vein of form even. David Nadich, would have expected him to be higher up, maybe didn't get a good run in qualifying, starting from 11th place. RSM Latino, current championship leader of Super 2, in 12th place, and the sister team of, or the satellite team of Race on Oz, Alex Cattle, starting from 13th place.
So man of the match so far for me has been Sean Allen.
Undoubtedly.
He won from, if I'm not mistaken, he won from 5th place in the second race as well, and got his podium in race number 1 from 5th place. So I expect him to at least get a podium in this race as well.
Ethan Warren's doing the thing that Sean Allen did last race. Oh god, and it's worked out for him. He's got the jump a little bit.
Side by side as they go into turn 1, but he didn't get the second phase of the start hooked up, and Dayne Warren had the whole shot as they go. Oh, look at that, Kurt. That's
Rosella.
Luke Rosella's out in the boonies.
Oh no.
That's the worst start that he's had all night, and he's had some bad ones. Oh, look at that. That was Sean Allen sailing wide at the second corner, and he's going to lose a few spots there, I should expect. Maybe only 1 spot.
Yeah, it was pretty tidy actually. And we saw Alex Cattle, I think, spearing off and into the wall, only just recovering. So don't see too much damage on that car, but that is unfortunate for him. back up in the battle. We've got Thomas McMillan making a few positions off the start. He's now right behind Zach Baker, which Zach Baker's probably not particularly thrilled about, as they come into a heavy braking zone of turn 6.
And he's completely muffed that one. He's gone straight off the racetrack, and then he loses all the spots that he gained. That is the story of Thomas McMillan the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, he hasn't had much luck tonight, as we see a mirror from one of the ZB racing cars. Thomas McMillan muscles his way back past RSM Latino. He's like, no, I'm keeping all of this 11th place, which RSM Latino's like, yeah, okay, go for it, mate.
I think I saw another ZB mirror on the racetrack there. That must have been Zach Baker's.
Luke Rosella down in 10th place, so his worst start of the night so far, although 3 wide at the moment.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it looked like it was going to be 3 wide, although Thomas McMillan's doing his very best to make it 3 wide. He's right.
Look at Colin Warwick's getting bump drafted by Thomas McMillan, so poor old Luke Rosella's getting left out in the cold here, and Colin Warwick's going to have an awful lot of speed coming into 1, 2 wide. Thomas McMillan is going to go for the inside of Luke Rosella. No, he's not. There was not quite enough space there, but I was sure he was going to send it. Colin Warwick must be nervous. Thomas McMillan right on the back of him.
Yep, it gives Luke Rosella a bit of a bump going through turn 2. We're keeping an eye on this lead battle as well. Ethan Warren is still within touching distance of his brother Dayne Warren, and Kurt Stenberg has remained in 3rd place. So everything as it started at the front, they are still quite close.
Meanwhile, this battle is going on, and Benjamin Dahlia is being passed around the outside by David Nenadich, and Colin Warwick trying to buy in. It's side by side behind them with Thomas McMillan and Luke Rosella. Thomas McMillan is... he's going to try and drive around the outside. This is where he went off. No, sorry, that wasn't quite. I think that might have been just before where he went off the racetrack on the first lap. I'm hedging my bets here. Colin Warwick into the back goes Luke Rosella, and Thomas McMillan into the back of Luke Rosella.
Yeah, everyone's bumping into each other. This is some definitely Rubbins racing so far in this particular race. That is a very, very tight train of cars behind David Nedidich. We've got David Nedidich, Benjamin Dahlia, Colin Warwick, Luke Rosella, Thomas McMillan, all in very close proximity. Colin Warwick trying to defend against Luke Rosella, who seems to have an incredible run. Goes for the inside. Whoa! A little bit defensive there from Colin Warwick, which Luke Rosella nearly got forced into the wall, but he's managed to hang himself in there, and he's trying to keep it around the inside, but just does not have the pace.
Oh, now Luke Rosella goes down the inside this time at turn 2. Tries to close the door, but he goes wide. In fact, doesn't manage to do so, and it's side by side on the run down to 3. Colin Warwick this time with the inside, but Luke Rosella's trying to drive around the outside. Colin Warwick drives him out of road, and Thomas McMillan gets his nose in there. Luke Rosella loses the spot to Thomas McMillan, and Colin Warwick gets a little bit of breathing space. Thomas McMillan and Luke Rosella are still battling over that position, and they're both losing a little bit of time. Luke Rosella gets a great run. He's going to try and drive down the inside. Thomas McMillan gives him the room. And again, they're side by side once again, but a bit of a moment there for Luke Rosella. He talked about the tyres. They're eating them up. They're only halfway through the tyre life already as they all converge there.
No.
And Thomas McMillan serves David Nenadich up on a plate, and Luke Rosella gets wide. Oh, what a shame there. That battle's all fallen apart. RSM Latino, though, he's buying into this. And meanwhile, in the background, ahead of them, Kurt Stenberg's all over the back of Ethan Warren.
Yeah, so that came to tears about as we would have expected for Thomas McMillan and a ZV racing car. Ethan Warren only barely ahead of Kurt Stenberg coming through I think that was the first corner. This is the second corner hairpin.
Yep.
So Kurt Stenberg with all the pace on the back of the other Warren brother.
Going through the grass is Thomas McMillan taking out some of the advertising hoardings. That was through turn 1, and he was very lucky to gather that up. In fact, he gathered it up and nearly took a position on the very next corner as David Nenadich went a little bit wide at 2. What a remarkable sequence of events.
David Nenadich with a huge lockup. I think those tyres are already starting to feel the pain, and we're only on lap 4, so this is going to be very interesting for these drivers involved in this tasty little battle. Thomas McMillan dangerously close to taking David Nedidich out for the second time in 2 laps, but he manages to pull himself in and makes the overtake.
That was a bit of a dive, and David Nedevich tries to effect a bit of a crisscross manoeuvre, but Thomas McMillan heads him off at the pass and then goes off at the very next corner. Not the first time he's been off there in this race. He went off there on the first lap. David Nedevich locks up at the very next corner. RSM Latino is the meat in this sandwich with very different types of bread at the top and bottom. Wow.
Absolutely. So David Nedevich is going to want to try to extend that advantage while he's got that buffer that is RSM Latino, because my goodness, being a ZB racing driver and seeing Thomas McMillan in your rearview mirror must be like hearing the guard come down when you're on death row, because you just know that the end is coming. It's just, when does it arrive?
We don't normally focus this closely on a battle for 10th, 11th and 12th, but it's just been such fantastically interesting racing as RSM Latino gets all sideways through one, and Thomas McMillan gives him a little bit of a bump that I think stopped him from going all the way around, but he's going to lose out, and David Nedevich is now having to deal with Thomas McMillan all by himself. Meanwhile, back at the front, what happened there?
I just saw a big moment from Thomas McMillan, but he looks like he saved it.
He recovered it. Now, this is the battle for second. Ethan Warren with Kurt Stenberg. It's not as close as what we've been looking at before, but Kurt Stenberg has a lot of pace, and Ethan Warren, I think, is struggling a little bit tonight around here. You're looking at the other screen because that Thomas McMillan battle's still going on.
I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but you're right. I think this is the closest battle we've had all night for second.
Thomas McMillan spun. Let's put paid to that one, so we won't have to look at it for a little while.
Well, he's bloody fast, but he just needs to, I don't know, pull his head in.
Just see a replay of that, and then we'll put it to bed, I think.
Yep.
Because there's action at the front that we want to see, so we're keeping an eye on it.
Oh, yeah, he just lost it around turn 5 by the looks of it. So back to the front. Kurt Stenberg all over the back of... Oh, no! No! He's hit Ethan going through the first corner, and they've both done a bit of a spin. Or Kurt Stenberg has at least. Ethan Warren has done about 360 plus 180.
That's a shame.
500 and... Oh, no, I can't even. My Tony Hawks isn't that good. So it's he just did not account for the different pace, with Ethan Warren taking the inside line, probably touching the brakes just a little bit into that first corner. So Kurt Stenberg will now be comfortably in second place.
With a bit of a cloud hanging over his head, I'm sure.
Yeah, I imagine a penalty will be coming his way for that one.
Usually they're just points penalties, so it won't affect your finishing position.
So Brody Steen, as it stands, is looking like another podium finish.
We haven't talked about the race on us, guys, because they've kept their nose clean so far.
So they've been incredibly tidy. So Sean Allen, you can see there lurking behind his teammate Brody Steen, who is in the current podium positions. Of course, we do still have 10 laps to go, including a pit stop, so who knows how this is going to shake out at the end.
Well, we haven't got to the first round yet. The pit stops.
You can tell there from the way that Brody Steen is driving that we're rapidly approaching it, though. Those tyres seem to be already struggling a little bit.
We reckon we'll see the first pit stops in about 2 laps' time. So Race on Oz are there with a backup, basically. Brody Steen on the podium and Sean Allen's the spare.
Yep. We've got the main one. We've got the pair and the spare.
Look at Benjamin Dahlia, 6th place again. Not over yet by any stretch of the imagination, but he's positioning himself well for another solid points position.
Absolutely. Well, ahead of him, he's got Zach Baker, who, of course, before the race is out, is most likely going to be punted by Thomas McMillan. So I expect him to gain that position. There he is on your screens.
Thomas McMillan's a long way behind.
He is, but he could lap him.
I'm seeing Colin Warwick drop down the time.
Oh, he's in the pits. He's the first of our pit stoppers.
Excuse me, that's a bit early.
Jesus, yeah. So he has pit with 9 laps still to run. So that might be a little bit premature.
My prayers are with you, Warwick, and I'm not a praying man.
Absolutely. Praying man. You're not a praying man, sis. Lovely. As you see him there scything out of the pit lane.
Tell you what, this battle for third has turned into a bit of a battle. It wasn't really a battle before, but now it seems to be a battle.
And now Sean Allen just seems to have a little bit more pace than his teammate.
He's a bit closer, isn't he?
I wonder if they don't share pit boxes, do they? So they don't have to double stack if they pit or anything like that. So
I wouldn't expect it.
Might see them. They might split the strategy. One of them might come in now, and one of them might come in a couple of laps time.
Well, speaking of coming in, Kurt Stenberg going for the early pit stop to get a bit of a undercut on Dayne Warren, who has continued around.
Yep. So I wonder if that will help him cut the deficit. He is going to have more worn tyres at the end of the race if he does manage to make that position.
Bold. I like it. I like the strategy elements that
We
this
didn't
is.
think that there was going to be any strategy, but people are seeming to find a bit of strategy where you wouldn't think there'd be much to split. But
Well, even if you have a pit window that's only 1 or 2 laps,
it's going to make a big difference with ×3 tyres.
look at that Ethan Warren pits. So he gets a bit of a close look at Kurt Stenberg after their little argument. And
I can imagine he's pointing at his eyes and then pointing at the Trans-Tasman car as it trundles off down the pit lane.
I reckon Brody Steen's going to lose this position to Sean Allen fairly quickly.
Yeah, I don't want to take each other out.
Oh, he's done that by himself. No, that's lag.
Oh, that was lag. So that is deeply unfortunate. I'm not sure how much of that was him just losing it, how much of it was maybe a push from Sean, and how much of it was lag.
Bit of
Oh,
bit from column A, a bit from column B, and a bit from column C, I think.
Yeah, and column D, which is the colour of my pants at the moment after watching that Brody Steen, tank slapper that he managed to save. So he, I imagine, will be definitely coming into the pits because that car is looking like it's getting increasingly difficult to drive. Dayne Warren doesn't seem to be having any troubles, but he's pitting regardless.
That's it. And so is Sean Allen. So we'll keep an eye on the background. We are going to see the other 2 cars behind peel in. So this is the lap that we're expecting most of the guys to pit, and indeed they are.
Yep, so Sean Allen, you can see there, just stopping in his box. Dayne Warren just leaving his pit box, and we've got one of the ZB Racing guys has pulled in.
Benjamin Dahlia's in as well.
And I think Brody Steen as well. So we've got, looking at the live timing, I'm seeing a lot of numbers going up and down as people pull into the pits.
5 cars in the pit lane.
So lap 9 seems to be the sweet spot for most people.
So Dayne Warren's rejoining the racetrack now. Kurt Stenberg's just coming past the start-finish line now. So the gap will be still a fairly sizable one, probably about 5 seconds or so. And Dayne Warren, crucially, will have tyres that are at least 1 lap younger. Probably.
So
yeah, it's 1 lap, isn't it?
It is 1 lap. So about 3.4 seconds is the gap between Kurt Stenberg and Dayne Warren. So he's trimmed it a tiny bit, but probably not worth the extra lap of pain at the end of the race, I would expect. Luke Rosella currently leading the race.
Yeah, so we're just waiting on Luke and David Nenadic, the only cars left to make their pit stops, I believe.
I think you are correct, yeah. Just got Chaos Theory in the chat saying, hey, all in the GT3 series, Will Devonish leads Steve Bolger. So there's your update if you happen to watch the AMS Oz broadcast as well.
Yeah.
If you watch the AMS broadcast, you're obviously here instead.
Yeah, well, you watch us instead, clearly. Get involved.
Get involved. Hop in and have a chat. Who do you think's going to win this? Well, I mean...
The Biscuit Theory?
Yeah, come on. Hop in and tell us if you prefer the Kingston or the Monte Carlo. Luke Rosella.
Speaking of hopping in into the pit lane, and we expect to see David Nenadic pit, but we don't. We see Luke Rosella, and we see David Nenadic continue on, so he's decided to go for the point you get for leading a lap, which doesn't exist.
I thought I just saw him losing control. No, I didn't. All right, we're good. I thought I saw him losing it coming through the first corner, but he managed to hang on to it. So, very well done to him. That gap to Dayne Warren is only 3 seconds, so he is... so, how long is the pit stop roughly?
It's about 35 seconds, something like that.
So he's looking like he's coming out down in 10th place at the moment, which I guess he was the ZB racer of this particular race to have a tangle with Thomas McMillan, so that makes sense.
So, Luke Rosella's out of the pits. I think we'll just wait for David to take his pit stop, and then we can go through our patented stock take, I think.
Always guaranteed to produce results is our stock take.
Get involved if you're watching in the chat and you feel like having a bit of a type. Exercise those fingers. Haven't done anything for most of the day. Ask us a question and we'll answer it in the best way we know how, with unfettered bullshit.
With unfettered bull what?
Bull excrement.
That's twice tonight. I'm usually the one that slips up.
It's been a while. You're a little bit more match fit than I am.
I have been doing commentaries recently, yeah.
Now, David Nenadic is about to lose this position on the track, but he's about to pop into the pits, and I wonder if Dayne Warren knows that he needs to pit.
Oh, that looked mighty close.
Yeah.
Oh, and David Nenadic better start braking soon because he's going to struggle to pull it up in time. It is a very slow pit lane speed limit.
There can sometimes be a bit of leniency.
I think if you're on the brakes as you're coming in and you're not too far over, then it gives you a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that because it's true.
Appreciate it. So he is currently still sitting stationary in his pit box,
And
7th. And I reckon, yeah, he's going to come out down in 9th place. He's going to lose that position to Luke Rosello.
Yeah,
he's just there on your left.
see him there. He might be close with Thomas McMillan, who's just exiting the final corner as we speak.
So the ZB racing car and Thomas McMillan are going to rejoin on track, perhaps.
Well, here he is.
So it's going to be mighty close at the pit exit.
He's going to go past him, yeah.
Yep. So,
But he's got older tyres by quite a number of laps, Thomas McMillan. So David Nenadich, well, he goes wide on those cold tyres on the first opportunity to use them, and that might be an interesting battle.
yeah, so David Nenadich, now Thomas McMillan has to worry about a ZB car in his rearview mirror rather than vice versa for the first time this race. David Nenadich is definitely... Those tyres have warmed up very quick because he's down the inside at turn 5, forces Thomas McMillan a little bit wide, and he's still on the inside heading down to turn 6.
Thomas McMillan seems to always attract the broadcast. It's because his sponsors must love him. Kurt Stenberg set the fastest lap of the race.
Victoria Bitter are getting incredible mileage out of the sponsorship, albeit when the car is in one piece enough to see the sponsorship. So we've got David Nedidich managing to sneak down the inside at the turn 8 hairpin and take that position back. So Thomas McMillan now setting about chasing after...
God, he's carried so much more speed than David through there, and I think he almost tripped over himself there, and he's lost a huge number of car lengths. There was no way he was going to affect the pass there. He's fast, but his racecraft is interesting.
It seems to fluctuate wildly from round to round. Sometimes he'll be absolutely spectacular, and sometimes he'll be like he is tonight. So you can never tell. It's always a 50-50 gamble on which Thomas McMillan you happen to get on any particular night.
Here's another tasty battle. Colin Warwick is fending off a few cars. Zach Baker and Brodie Steen. Brodie Steen looks like he's lost out through the pit stop phase of the race.
Yeah, he was sitting in... Well, him and Sean Allen were having a bit of a tussle over the last step on the podium. And now Sean Allen is sitting comfortably in that 3rd place. And Thomas McMillan is currently blocking Zach Baker and Brodie Steen from getting anywhere close to him.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Just keeping an eye on the lap times of Kurt Stenberg and Dayne Warren, because as I exclaimed a lap or so ago, Kurt set the fastest lap of the race, 2/10 faster, but there he goes. Dayne Warren has responded. 27.137. Don't get any fancy ideas there, Kurt, says Dayne, and Kurt says, all right. And put me in the bin.
I'm going to put you in the bin, as Dayne Warren once, well, probably more than once, dryly put.
A favourite saying of that group, I believe.
4.7 seconds now, the gap between first and second.
All right, yeah.
Kurt's seeming to drop off, but still, 2nd place finish, probably his best finish in a little while, Kurt Stenberg.
Yeah, I think he'll be mighty pleased with that if he can bring that one home.
This battle is... Zach Baker is very keen on that 4th position, and Colin Warwick is just doing his level best to keep that ZB racing car behind him.
Mixed fortunes for Colin tonight. Podium in race 1, DNF in race 2.
Yep, so he's currently sitting in 4th, which would probably be a win based on that average. And Brodie Steen also with a podium in the 2nd race, so he's not particularly happy down there in 6th. He's thinking, well, my teammate's up on 3rd, why not up there? And he's failing to come up with an answer that satisfies him, and he's trying to find it in the back of Colin Warwick's car as Zach Baker goes wide, but not wide enough for Brodie Steen to sneak up.
Colin was defending there, and he probably didn't need to because Zach wasn't that close. And
it can sometimes be hard to tell in your review.
It can be. Zach was, I think, a little bit slowed down, and that just opened the door slightly for Brodie to try and walk through. But I think Brodie will be keen to get these positions back, don't you? Having been 4th in the early part of this race, and now he's 2 positions to the detriment.
He
Not
did have
to the detriment. To the
Zach Baker goes for the inside at turn 1. and looks like he's pulling it off.
Wow, wow, wow.
Doesn't look like a break for either of them. Very well done, side by side, all the way down to turn 2. Oh, lockups aplenty
Numerous lockups.
from Zach Baker and Brody Steen in particular. And I think Colin Warwick just went a little bit wide, but that was enough for Zach Baker to comfortably hold on to that 4th position. And
it was a good move from Zach. I think Colin's tyres are feeling a bit sickly. Ooh, Brody goes for the inside there. Colin gives him the
Nicely
room.
done.
Brody walks straight through. I wonder, I'm trying to remember now when Colin pit, there were so many
He was the
pit stops.
first. He was the first to pit, yep.
And
So
I think it's coming back to bite him right now. That undercut, though, did work well for him.
still 2 laps left to run in this race, though, and Benjamin Dahlia lurking in the background. Of course, Benjamin Dahlia has finished 6th
In every other race.
tonight.
But
and
he's finished, you know how he's done it. He's done it by going...
losing a position.
Yeah, being in 5th. But look at the time that he's taking out of Colin Warwick in big chunks. And on the last sector of the race, he took 0.7 of a second out of Colin Warwick.
Yeah, so that position looks like, for the first time tonight, changing for the better for Benjamin Dahlia at the end of the race, as Colin Warwick goes a little bit wide at the last corner. Benjamin Dahlia nice and tight to the apex, shooting out, and he's going to have a good run down into the first corner, which we've seen has been a very popular overtaking opportunity. Colin Warwick, very defensive, very early.
Being on the inside of 1 crucially means you're on the inside turn 2, but I don't think it's going to matter.
Just drives around him.
Yeah, much fresher tyres on Benjamin Dahlia's car, and once again finds himself in 6th place.
Look at the gap he's already pulled, and that's from 1 corner.
Yeah, and crucially, he won't be driving in his mirrors now. He's only looking ahead.
And who knows what will happen up ahead of him. Brody Steen and Zach Baker still within a second of each other, so if they come to blows, very possibly could find another position or so.
Probably not, though. Zach Baker has a bit of a
1
gap.
second, yeah, 1 lap left to run.
Well, let's quickly go through this
Quick stock take.
quick stock take. Penultimate lap of the race, Dayne Warren has a 10-second lead. Goodness, that's inflated
It has.
in the last few laps. So he's
Like there's a little midget with a bouncy castle. He's just inflating it very
he's
quickly.
demoralised Kurt Stenberg, and but Kurt Stenberg with a strong result in 2nd place will be happy with that. I should think.
Demoralised, much like a midget whose job is blowing up bouncy castles would be.
We've only got a lap to get through this, Mad Bird, and this is
Do
racing.
apologise.
Sean Allen on the podium for the 3rd time of the night. He's got all 3 now, I think.
Absolutely.
Zach Baker in 4th place, and Brody Steen chasing him down, but a fair old gap between those two. Benjamin Dahlia, we just saw getting 6th place from why am I forgetting his name again? Yeah, that's because I'm looking for him on the leaderboard, and he's gone down to 11th, so I'm wondering if he's had to make a late pit stop. So that would be a bit of a concern. We'll come back to that. Luke Rosella in 7th place, David Nenadic in 8th, Thomas McMillan inside the top 10. Semoltino rounding out the 10, and Colin Warwick.
I think his tyres have just, there you go. That would be why he is where he is.
They can't go longer than 8 laps.
No.
I think he tried to do 9.
I think ×3 was maybe a little bit much.
Oh, I like it though.
It's
maybe the
dramatic.
I think that maybe the 15 laps would have been ideal.
Yeah, cut it exactly in half, because
Yeah.
you're going to be dancing on ice for at least look at him. He can barely get it around the last corner.
It's a tyre eating
He's trying
circuit.
to crab. It is the tyre recycling centre, as Luke Rosella put it.
Well, Dane's tyres are pretty second-hand too.
Or was that just showing off a little bit?
Could be.
As he comes around the corner, starts the start-finish straight for the very last time.
That's
and
it.
Crosses the line.
Well done.
2 wins from 3 races for Dayne Warren. And the 3rd one, well, who knows what happened in that 2nd race.
Colin Warwick is pitting.
Yeah, so he's decided he cannot put up with 1 more lap of those particular tyres, or although he has finished... No, there's no classification unless you finish the whole race, is there? So
question.
He's pulled into the pits and he's actually retired.
That's one for the stewards to decide.
Ooh.
Look at this, very close on the finish between Zach Baker and Brody Steen, but Zach Baker holds on.
You were just telling me that wasn't going to get any closer at the end.
Yeah,
of the race.
I've told you many things that turned out not to be true, haven't I? Benjamin Dahlia and Luke Rosella. So Benjamin Dahlia gets 3/6 on the bounce, and I'm very happy for him there. Luke Rosella, who beat Benjamin Dahlia in the 2nd race and the 1st race, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Ends
yeah.
up behind him in the 3rd race, so improvement for Benjamin
He
Dahlia.
gets a clutch pedal for next time.
Yeah, Benjamin Dahlia in 8th place. Thomas McMillan, an eventful race for him. Not by his standards, but an eventful race. And then RSM Latino will round out the 10. And
Colin Warwick yet to be decided whether he actually is classified for points.
Yeah, Ethan Warren DNF'd. We didn't see that.
We didn't see that.
He came to blows with Kurt Stenberg early on in the race.
Yeah, so that, of course, we forgot to mention that second place for Kurt Stenberg. Well, the position itself won't be in jeopardy, we don't think, but points potentially come off his total.
Well, we did have that feature on points, so depending on
go back and watch it if
10 or 15.
We also had a feature on penalties.
Yes, I meant to say penalties. Did I say points?
We also had one on points, though. The first break
Yes.
had a feature on points. So points and penalties, go back and find them if you want any information, because it's all here, ladies and gentlemen.
Chuck that date in your diary, 21st, I should say, of July. That's our next round.
Almost a
from
month away.
Winton. Not quite as long as the gap between this race and the previous race. But if you do want a fix of racing before 3 weeks from now, or 4 weeks from now.
4 weeks, I reckon.
4 weeks. But you and Matt Dunlop are back in the commentary box tomorrow night for round 5 of the Apex Rear Wing Season 9 Super Tourer Championship.
That's it in the BTCC cars. So hop over onto the Apex Rear Wing Facebook page and keep an eye out there. We will be posting the link for that stream. Of course, make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, and a ding bell notification on Automobilista Supercars, and why not hop over onto Apex Rear Wing and do the same over there as well. And
vote in the biscuit poll.
And make sure you vote in the... Yes, most importantly, 340 souls have voted so far in the Monte Carlo versus Kingston, which is the better cream biscuit. We both know neither of them are the best.
What is your favourite?
My favourite cream biscuit?
Cream biscuit, yeah. What were the ones?
Shortbread cream has got to be up there. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, they're alright, yeah.
Is Tim Tam considered a cream biscuit? Not really.
No, not really.
No, because
I think if you're opening it up to Tim Tams, then you've got to open up to mint slice.
Yep.
Really, it's no contest once the big boys get involved, don't they?
Absolutely.
Cream biscuits can all go to the bottom of the dumpster.
Monte Carlos would be towards the top, I reckon. I'm a big fan of the Monte Carlos.
Chocolate Montes, what do you think?
Yeah, they're alright.
Yeah, they really are that kind of biscuit, aren't they?
Yeah, they're
alright.
I feel like we should do an entire broadcast where we just discuss biscuits. Perhaps that'll be the Bathurst 1000 later in the year when we need to kill time at some stage.
Well, last year's was richly entertaining.
That's a good point, actually. So let's not assume the worst before it happens.
If you've just joined us, Dayne Warren has won 2 of the 3 races of the night. Sean Allen won the other one, but I have to give my driver of the night to Sean Allen. Absolutely, consistently there and thereabouts.
3 podiums.
Qualifying wasn't necessarily there, but throughout the race, can't fault him.
More podiums on this night than he's had the rest of the season combined, I reckon. So very well done to Sean Allen and Race on Oz. Brody Steen having some decent results as well.
Well, actually, that's a podium streak for Sean Allen now of 5. Well, he had 5 before tonight, so that makes it 8.
Oh, goodness me!
Gracious.
So me saying that he had more podiums tonight than he had the entire rest of the season was grossly misunderestimated.
Patently untrue.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we won't have a chance to chat to them. If you were joining us in the first part of this broadcast, you realise we have some technical issues, so we haven't been able to track down our drivers for a chat. We'll try and rectify that for the next round. So our apologies for that, but congratulations to our podium sitters for all 3 races.
Absolutely. Very well done to all of them. Some very entertaining racing as always. And I'm very much looking forward to Winton, which last time produced some cracker racing stirs.
It did. It's not a driver's favourite, but I think it's a spectator's favourite because, well, certainly in sim racing, it really does deliver.
It does indeed. So I cannot wait for that one in 4 weeks' time, I think we decided.
Yeah, 21st. Well, the 20th is the Super 2, and the 21st it'll be the main game.
Yep. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
And I am too. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
See you later.